Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport here for the round 17 and 18 of the Pro Championship. It's the second night race of the season, which means cold, cool temperatures here at the Red Bull Ring. It is going to be an interesting, fascinating night to see what will happen. I'm your host, Mathew Duffin, joined once again by Kelly Davis in the box. Kelly, good evening. Are we looking forward to the Red Bull Ring?
Always, Mathew. Good to be here as usual. Night time, but don't let that dampen your spirits, because the Red Bull Ring always brings up a bit of action. Short, quick, long straights, and nice short track. So plenty of action. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it indeed. Plenty of action to be getting on with tonight. 15 drivers and a new driver out there as well. Brandon Williams is his name, the South African driver, running the number 5. Wanted the 55, but had to tell him no, sir, that number's been taken by myself. So he's had to go with the number 5. He's currently sat in 3rd place. And at the minute, if we're looking, Kelly, the two men that have kept the Ford Mustangs honest all season are the top 2 of the timing screens at the moment.
Absolutely, and with one of them in the middle of the 2 MSA boys as well. Yes, Kieran O'Reilly setting the pace this evening, and he's always been the man that's been pushing the Mustang, so hopefully he's going to have a good night tonight. Dan Davis there just a quarter of a second behind him, and as you say, new chap here, Williams. He's showing well to be up in 3rd on his debut. Tardock and Silty MSA Racing are in 4th and 6th at the moment, with Ben Rook splitting the 2 of them. This, of course, is just practice, means nothing, but does give us an idea of where we're going to be this evening.
It does.
And it looks like the Mustangs are going to struggle a bit, Matt.
Surprising, Kelly, I think is maybe one thing to ask. We know that Red Bull Ring 9 corners, or 10 if you want to count that little kink of turn 2. We're going to go with 9 proper corners. But is that a surprise, knowing that this track, a pretty quick circuit, you'd imagine that it's going to suit a car like the Mustang, maybe over the Honda and the Porsche. We know the Honda and Porsche are better at tracks like, you know, like Zandvoort and Alton Park and circuits like them, where there's a lot of corners, not a lot of straights to use the top speed. So is that a surprise at the moment?
I think it is to a point, although saying that, Red Bull Ring has got a couple of unique corners, being that kind of turn 1 and turn 2. As you said, we're not gonna count turn 2 as it actually is, because it's a flat nothing. It's a it's flat scat between turn 1 and turn 3. Funnily enough, where you place turn 2, but we're going to go for the big stop as being turn 2. It's right down from top speed to almost nothing, and then an uphill traction zone. Turn 1, turn 2, both interesting corners, and I also think that the last couple of corners at 9 and 10 are quite unique as well. A bit of a roller coaster ride downhill, requires to carry a lot of speed through there, you know, and not to run wide. I think maybe those characteristics are what are putting the Porsche and the Honda back into play, maybe.
Possibly so. We'll have to see what happens and develops as the night goes on. Like Kelly says, this is just practice. So yes, the times can reflect something, doesn't reflect everything, and I suppose that is why practice always makes perfect, to make sure that you can nail what you need to do out there on the circuit. But as we go into these final couple of moments of this practice session, let's run you through the championship order, and it is that of Sylph who leads the way from Tardock at the moment in this championship. It is close between them two as well, 32 points between them two. We then drop down 165 points to O'Reilly. It really is a 2-horse race. Ben Rook, P4 at the moment, not far off the back of O'Reilly. This is where it gets exciting. 3rd to 7th is really anybody's game, because O'Reilly on 457 points. Then it's Ben on 450, Hoopert's on 448. Then it's Dan Overtaker, not here tonight, on 427. Then it's Dan Davis on 423. So really is, Kelly, from 3rd to 7th, anybody's game in that sort of section.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, still plenty of points to be fought for. So really tight in that midsection.
Just after them two, then, it is Matt Wright, P8, 381. Then it's Jamal Cloudon, Will Friedman, rounding out the top 10. Michael Harris, who's had a few work commitments, so he's not been here for the last couple of weeks. He's hoping to return next week. He's down in P11 with Mike Matthews, 12th. Skunky, 13th, with Patrick Ledger, 14th. Then it's Viper, Hoffer, Carlos, Gary Leach, Ian McGowan, Fraser O'Brien, Cal Seth, Joe Bakes, Mirko, Richie Michelle, E. Collin, E. Pocket, and then Brandon Williams obviously making his debut today. In terms of that Constructors' Championship as well, pretty much done and dusted. There is 800 points up for grabs, but 339 points separate MSA Racing, who's leading, from Team Audio Sport, who are second place. And that, Kelly, yes, there's still 852 points left, but a 339 point deficit is a big one to claw back.
Yes, and with the MSA boys running like they do, yeah, it's going to take a lot of DNFs to haul that back, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Do you?
I can't see it, especially while the grid's so small at the moment as well. Even if they have a bad night, they're still scoring sort of mid-pack points, where Audio Sport boys are going to need them to count. Audio Sport, they've got to look over their shoulder. 71 points behind is the Greasy Bandits. Overtaker's not here, so he'll get his drop score tonight. As we come into the final 2 weeks of the drop score being counted. Then it's SimPlay Racing, who are P4, not a million miles off the back of Greasy Bandits. Then it's a big jump back to the old school racers. Quantum Motorsport, Team FBR, Team SPR, and Effect Motorsport and Red Run Racing cannot win the championship now, due to the fact that they are just haven't scored enough points and are eliminated. So then, Red Bull Ring, one of the better European circuits, as it was well known, the A1 ring from back in the day, Formula One in the early 2000s. A 2.683 mile circuit, 4.318 kilometres, 10 corners. Again, we're only going to classify 9 of them. There is 3 left-handers, 7 right-handers. I'm sure it's a right-hander that we're going to declassify. Pole position starts on the left-hand side. The ACC lap record is a 26.695. I don't think we're going to get close to that, just because of the fact that's probably done on a hot lap mode with perfect weather, perfect conditions. We're at night, it's 6 degrees out there. That was done by Alexis as well. So Gary Leach, what can he do tonight? And speaking of Gary Leach, he's the most successful driver around this circuit. So Gary Leach, well, I will tell you more, because he has 2 pole positions and 1 race win. He's the joint most successful, but he's the most successful who's currently active. He's tied with Andy on 2 poles and 1 win, Disco McDisco Face 2 poles and 1 win, Ben Parkey 2 poles and 1 win, and Big Boy Brazier 1 pole and 2 wins. Okay. But because he's the only active driver out there, there we go.
Yeah. So, yes, I mean, a lot of people with a similar stat, so, kind of... have we not been here much?
No. I thought we'd been here more, Kelly, but looking at that, Gary's most successful with 2 poles and a win. That could have been done in 1 week,
Absolutely.
With the 2 races and the 1 qualifying, and there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 drivers on that most successful list before Tuesday, which was then obviously GT4s, where we added Hoopert and O'Reilly, and last night we added John Gooday and Snye and Kneebone. So, only 16 drivers. So I'd say we've not been here. I thought we'd been here a lot more.
Yeah, I did too.
Especially back in the Project Cars 2 days.
Oh, funnily enough, we were talking about that off air, weren't we? With the Clio Cup, one of the first races that me and Matt, Sweet and Sticky, commentated on. If you want to go back, no, was that on ours?
No, that was Motive. Motive Clio Cup.
Motive, yeah.
That was.
I don't even know if you can find that anymore.
I don't. Well, who knows? That was the job that kind of me and Kelly did together. We enjoyed it so much. I'd said to Kelly, or I'd said to Dan. Dan had said to me that Kelly enjoyed working with me. I'd said that I enjoyed working with Kelly, and boom, before you know it, Sweet and Sticky was born in the pros comms box, and it is history. But that goes back to the short layout. The short layout here is, as you come out of turn 1, you'll see a part of the track that goes off to the right hand side. It kind of cuts out the top half of the circuit, and you come down to where the S's are, just at the start of sector 3, and it kind of does that bit there. And you had names of like the Only G and Motoring Morgan and Gary Leach. Gary Leach was a big fan of Motoring Morgan.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. But that's where we started, and Clio Cup on Project Cars 2. What a place!
Brilliant.
What a place!
Yeah, brilliant.
My first race at SimPlay, official first race, was official first. Obviously, main league we class as GT3s, Pro and Pro-Am. We've always done side series. My first GT3 race was Pro-Am, Acura, Red Bull Ring. Got a win.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I can't remember what mine was.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. I remember my first sim race on a league, and I believe that was on the aforementioned Mathew. And I think I cocked start up or something. I made a real mess. I know. Raced into the pits on Project Cars, got disqualified. That was it. Yeah.
Good evening.
But I can't remember what my first SimPlay one was. I must try and think back.
When did you join?
Midway through season 2.
Midway through season 2.
I was commentator before I was a driver.
Yes, he was. Midway through season 2. I'll have to see if I can find the old. The old calendar. But good evening in the chat to that then of Audio Sport, our fantastic sponsor, Gary Clarble, Tips and Damien Hibbs. As let's get the grid order looked at, shall we? Pole position for this race will go the way of Cal Seth. He's going to line up alongside that then of Gary Leach on the front row of the grid. Row 2 will be that of Carlos and Patrick Lager in the Ford Mustang and in the Lamborghini. Row 3 will be that of Mike Matthews and Will Freeman going from 5th and 6th. Obviously a lot higher up in the championship, that, but with drivers not being here, that puts them up the order. Matt Wright will be alongside Jamal Clouden, that is for 7th and 8th in the championship. And then it's Dan Davis and Ben Hoopert alongside each other before the other Audio Sport driver of Ben Rook will be lining up alongside Kieran O'Reilly. The penultimate row of the grid will be Tardock and Sylph before the final row of the grid will be Brandon Williams on his own, making his debut here tonight in what should be an interesting race. But Kelly, who is going to win this first race?
I'm not backing anybody particularly. I backed a certain driver and he ended up crashing into, my son actually crashed into him at the beginning of last week, and that ruined his race. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, with the I think Friedman's got a good chance because he's gone well, but just that the results haven't quite gone his way. But he knows how to drive. Carlos has had some good races. Mike Matthews had some good races. Who knows? I'm going to go Gary Leach. Yeah, I mean he couldn't have any worse season, so I might as well curse him. He'll thank me for that.
Well, he's not had much luck this season, so you never know. That might be the luck that he needs as we come around into the final couple of corners. I'm just looking on this screen here. Was you teamed with anybody in season 2? I don't think you was you?
No, I don't. My first teammate was Nicky.
Yeah, it was.
We was Team Pro.
Well, I've found the season 2 calendar. We had Nürburgring, Snetterton, Daytona, Algarve, Kota, Alton Park, Long Beach, Indianapolis, Imola, Bathurst, and Ruapuna. So I'll find out in the mid-session break who it was, and that's going to be an interesting one to see what will happen as we come around the final corner. And for the first time tonight, we say good evening to PM Motorsport and to Robert Randall. Up the pros, he says, as they come down the start line. Cal Seth versus Gary. It is 15 pros on the grid in the dark here in the Styrian Mountains. It is a clear, beautiful night, and at 1 in the morning the engines are about to rise as it's green and go. Then down towards turn 1, Gary Leach looks like he's got a mega start up the inside of Cal Seth, and he's going to try and take the lead as they all come through the first corner. A few cars run a little wide. Cal Seth is one of them, as is Carlos. That's going to allow Ledger to get a run through as well, as is Will Freeman. Mike Matthews is the one down the back of the order who's had a moment with Matt Wright. So they have dropped down the back of the order. Kelly, did you see what happened?
I didn't. All I saw was carnage into one. I was on board with Williams right at the back of the pack with a watching brief. Dan was involved. He's dropped back loads of places as he rubs with Tardock into turn 2. But I saw a spinning orange McLaren, so I think that was probably Mike Matthews in the middle, but I don't know what started it.
Well, Mike Matthews and Matt Wright in the Ferrari and Nissan are down the back of the pack. O'Reilly's just gone round the outside of Hoopert and Silf, who have made a little bit of contact out of turn 2. O'Reilly now moving up to 6th place through that then of turn number 3. And here comes Kieran O'Reilly as Gary Leach leads him away from Ledger, from Kalseth. Carlos, Will Friedman is in fact got himself ahead of Carlos, because what has happened to Carlos? He's lost out, and now so is Kalseth, dropping it through the S's. That's allowed Friedman and O'Reilly to get past. So whatever is happening to the MSA guys today, obviously all a part of the same stable, it is going horribly wrong. Carlos, Hupert, Sylph, Dan Davis down there on the back of them with Torlock Williams, Ben Rook, then it's Cloud and Mike Matthews and Matt Wright down the back of the order. So I wonder if Matt Wright was the one who caused the carnage here. But Dan Davis, look, he's got a cluster of black and yellow silver cars all in front of him as he's trying to pick his way past them all.
Absolutely, it's like Daniel. Oh, and he had contact. Tardock runs up the
and two of them
inside. All the MSA boys are off, and on the.
One of them's round, Kelly. One of them's round. He's just clipped the wall as he keeps it all together. But Dan there got a bit of a tap from Tardock. Then two in front have pushed each other off. And look at them all. The Mustangs are swamping that of the Porsche. They bounce off each other again. They're 4 wide into turn 2. No way this comes off okay, but it does indeed. Dan Davis manages to only lose, I think, 1 place there. But that is absolute craziness here in the Styrian Mountains. Gary still leads this race. No, he doesn't, because Patrick Ledger around the outside of turn 3. He's had a thank your mama for the carrots. Gary Leach is trying to fight this one as hard as he can, but Ledger gets the move done. Now Friedman looks to attack the back of Leach. Can't do it though into turn 4. And Dan Davis somehow is still P10. Jamal Clouden and Ben Rucker now on the back of that of 2 of the Audio Sport cars as well. It is absolute drama here in Styrian Mountains.
Absolutely, and that whole thing started in turn 1 when Dan and Tardock rubbed doors as they went into turn 1, and there was and I don't know if the other MSA boys just got out on their own. I'm on board with Clouden at the moment. He's following Williams with what we got Tardock just in front of him. Dan in an MSA sandwich at the moment as Hupert gets very
somebody's off. Somebody's off. I think that is Hupert. No, it's not Hupert. Who is that tumbling down? It's Carlos.
No, Carlos.
No, it's Sylph. I don't know which one I'm looking at here.
It's Carlos and Sylph.
It is Carlos. Carlos has got major damage. That's brought Mike into play, but that's allowed Dan Davis now back up into 7th place.
Yes, indeed. They've started to drop Williams a little bit. I think Williams had a little bit of a tardy first sector, and Tardock having a look around the outside of Dan into turn 2. They're going to get it done there, I don't think. Dan's got the traction, but the Mustangs have got the straight line. Dan pulls away on traction zone, gets the power down in that Porsche, and then Tardock just starts to reel him in towards the back at the end of the corner.
Bit of hip and shoulder further forward ahead of Dan. That was Will Friedman and Gary just bumping door to door. Onto the gravel goes Friedman, but he gets past Gary Leach and moves up yet another place. And that is an interesting move. Gary now down into P3. And look at that train already gaining on the back of O'Reilly.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are in close contact. The whole field, to be fair, Friedman's now, as you said, in front of Gary, but Gary has got Kalseth right behind him, Hooper right behind him, and on it goes all the way back to pretty much Williams. Is a bit of a gap to Williams, but not much, and Cloudon's pressuring him as they go round for what is only just lap 4.
What is only just lap 4, and this is this is an interesting one to keep our eyes on at the moment. And look at that, Mike Matthews and Matt Wright. Matt Wright's actually side by side now with Carlos. Mike's lost out to Matt Wright in this race as he's gave Carlos a flash of the lights there. All to Matt Wright. I'm not quite sure who that flash of the lights was to. Track limit's going to be key to watch here as Mike Matthews now goes side by side with Carlos coming to the hill. Go on, Kelly.
Tardock's on the outside of Dan. He got a run. Hupert was a bit squirrely in turn 1, and Tardock's hit his teammate. It's hit Hupert, and Dan just avoids that. He was on the inside of that, but he got away with it. I don't know where that's put Hupert. Hupert's gone down the order a little bit, but he got tapped by Tardock, and as they were going 3 wide. Whew.
Yeah, it is a lot of drama out there tonight.
Who's that off? Friedman's off. He's in the wall.
So Friedman's in the wall. That's the yellow flag. Mike did get past Carlos. Let's go to Friedman then, who has got some heavily front-end damage. No, actually not too bad. I thought the black on the car was the bonnet lifted, but it's not. It's just the black paintwork of that Porsche car. So bit of damage, not as much as we thought, on the front of Friedman's car. He's got to go again. So O'Reilly's now ahead of Gary. Where is Gary? He's behind Kalseth with Dan Davis dipping to the pit lane. Now pit lane lane. Going to be very crucial tonight. You've got to be below the white line, as Jamal's now looking up the inside of Hooper, gets that move done and makes it stick. But you've got to be below the white line before the white line starts. You cannot cut the pit entry. Back comes Hooper on Jamal Clouden now then. Ben Ruck chooses to go to the outside. I think Ben now has just got out of it. I was going to say that's probably the wisest move for Ben. Hooper up the inside. Jamal on the outside. Jamal runs a little wide. That'll probably ping up a track limit warning now. And Ben's coming under pressure from that behind of Sylph.
Yeah, load of them in the pitch. Gary Leach, Dan Davis and Tardock all went into the pit, as well as Friedman. Tardock just got it slowed down in time as he came up behind Dan. We've got Sylph going around the outside of Ben Ruck, or trying to. He runs wide. Ben's still on the inside and he's got the traction, but that Mustang power looking mighty, but he's holding him off. The Aston Martin holding him off. He's got the inside line as they break down into the downhill right-hander of turn 3. But it looks like that Sylph has got the inside line now as they come down into the next corner. Great side-by-side racing with these two. Nice and clean, nice and fair, but they're still going at it, Matt.
They are still going at it, Kelly, and this is going to be an interesting one. See, Gary, Dan, Tardock, Friedman and Matt Wright all complete their pit stops now then. So Patrick Ledger leads from that of O'Reilly. O'Reilly not coming into the pits, neither is Calseth. Williams isn't either. He's gone very, very wide. Hooper stays out. Jamal this time is coming in. He's being followed in by Ben Ruck, and I believe that Mike Matthews is going to carry on his way. That's a little wide there and a big wiggle for Mike, and Carlos is also going to come into the pit lane. Dan Davis though got the jump on Gary Leach, so he's the lead car from the pits. He's coming through turn 3 as Jamal not yet stationary in his box. Remember, when that orange number goes green, that's when the pit stop is completed. When the P has been removed, that is when they are off the limiter. As old sim racer Rob, you'll be on racing on a Thursday evening next season. Hope you're reading Ramsell, not me, says Rob Smith. Top 10 from Pro-Am to be promoted. Get these numbers up. Indeed, old sim racer, that's what we want. You boys in commentary must be looking forward to the pit stop so you can catch your breath. Indeed, we have been, because it's been
our job.
15 cars, but what drama, Kelly.
Absolutely, and it's just like the Red Bull Ring. We said about back in the day, the Clio Cup, where we didn't get a breath then because they were all so close. This is the kind of racing that's brought up at the Red Bull Ring, and it's a cracking little track, this one, in its own way. And so you know, we earn our money here at SimPlay, Damien. That's for certain, sure. We earn our bag of Skittles every week.
Every single week we do, and this is going to be an interesting one to see what will happen in this race. Kelly, you joined in season 3, I've managed to find.
Okay, right.
With Nicky in the Team Prolapse Porsche, which means your first race of season 3 was, and I've just had the calendar up, we're watching Dan, who has got the jump on all the other cars who have pitted. So pit stops happening then. Williams is now in. Sylph carries on his way, as does Mike Matthews. So let's see if Dan can get the jump on Williams, although fantastic. We'll go back to Will Friedman. He's hunting down Clouden after last week when they was hunting each other down for a lot of the Nürburgring, and they're trying to hunt down Ben in the process of this.
Clouden gets squirrely up on the gravel there.
He does. That's allowed Will Friedman to get alongside and to get past in towards turn 4. Your first race was Spa back on the 12th of May 2021.
And do you know how I got on? Well, I think I crashed, didn't I? As I remember.
I'd have to go back on the YouTube stream and have a look. So I might do that in the mid-session break and I'd be able to tell you how you got on in that race. But yeah, the 12th of May 2021, so nearly 4 years ago. Wow.
Doesn't time fly? We've had some racing since then.
Oh, we've had some racing since then, yeah.
Yeah. Which brings me to, as I said, classics on YouTube. Yeah. Go back, you can watch them all. How many races did we work out?
Well, DJ Phil's done 451, but there's been more than that.
Yeah.
There's been more than
that. There's certainly got some downtime. You can watch some of the classics on YouTube. And talking about classics, the 24-hour at Nürburgring was a classic, and we've got another one of them coming up. And I don't know if I can get the chit-chat in because there's plenty going on track at the moment. We've got the leaders in on the pits. Going to see where where Dan ends up after this, Matt. This is going to be one that's interesting for me.
Well, Dan's just come through turn 3, Kelly. He's got Tordok within half a second, but like I say, the leaders are in, bar Sylph and bar Mike Matthews at the moment then. So that is the state of play. Dan's holding his own. This is the best I think we've seen the Porsche and Dan look this season so far, because normally he'd be under a lot more pressure than that. He looks pretty comfortable there with that gap to Tordok.
Yes, he does, absolutely, and they've dropped Williams by 6 seconds or more behind him, so it's just them two to worry about. As Dan comes through the last corner with Tardok right behind him,
now don't forget,
come out.
Sorry, don't forget Patrick Ledger was race leader before the pit stop. He came off the limiter. O'Reilly was second. He's now just come off the limiter. Here they go then. Tordok closing on Dan using that Mustang power. Ledger's off. Where's O'Reilly? O'Reilly's there. So Dan, P3, net P3 at the moment. Maybe a net P4 depending on Hupert. I can't remember where Hupert was before the pit stop started, but Dan is a net P3, P4 I think, because of Will Friedman's incident. I think Dan's managed to maybe get himself up on the podium as Tordok having a little look on the inside line of Dan.
Didn't Hupert get hit by his teammate, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he did,
behind.
So I think Dan's net P3 at the moment.
Yeah.
So Ledger net leader, O'Reilly net second, Dan net P3. Dan's teammate Ben Rook is looking on the back of debutant Williams. We've got Clouden within a second of Friedman. We've got Gary within a second of Clouden. We've got Matt Wright within a second of Gary. Carlos is a couple of laps down. Mike Matthews now pulls the trigger for his pit stop. He was way behind the pack, so this will be interesting to see where Mike comes out. He was on the back of Matt right before the pit stop, so let's see what Mike can do if the overcut has worked for him. But the top two of Hupert and Sylph continue to keep going, and I suppose while they've got clear air, Kelly, that's probably the best thing to do.
Absolutely, I agree totally. There's some. Dan gets a little bit squirrely in corner 9, the penultimate corner. He gets the back end right out. These boys pushing the track limits tonight, Matt.
Yeah, they really are. They're giving it a lot through this circuit tonight, but you can run on the curb. It's just how much over the curb you then run before it will ping you with a limit. I know where there's a yellow sausage curb on exits. If you go over that, any wheel over that, it will ping you up. They've all jumped Mike Matthews. Mike's, in fact, what's happened to car 14? That is Ben Rook. He's ended up way off the back of the pack as Mike Matthews comes out the pit lane. Look at this. He's jumped. No, he stayed in front of... No, he has jumped Matt Wright, because Matt Wright was ahead of him, and he's on the back of Gary Leach now. So something's happened to Ben. He was fighting with Williams. Ben doesn't look like... I mean, it's hard to say whether he's got damage, but nothing's lifted up to suggest he's got damage. Looks a bit scuffed on the front end, so maybe he's hit the rear of Williams or something has happened there. Either way, the leaders are in the pits. Dan's got the gap down to 2 tenths to Tordok. He's just over a second behind O'Reilly. And Patrick Ledger looks pretty comfortable in the lead of this race. Kelly got ahead of Gary Leach early on, and he's not looked back since. He looks pretty comfortable in P1, or net P1.
Yes, absolutely. A couple of seconds there in front of O'Reilly. O'Reilly hasn't been reeling him in since the pit stops. And Dan's keeping pace with O'Reilly. Still got Tardok for company, close company within just in half a second, and Tardok closes right up as they get into the last corner. But again, that Porsche on traction has got better traction out of the corners than the Mustang.
I think that's what's saving Dan, Kelly, because the Mustang, look how close Tardok gets by the end of the straight. But like you say, that traction out of the corners is what is doing Dan just pulling away from Tardok as he runs over the limits. Then comes Hupert and Sylph out of the pit lane, so we'll see where they filter in. Sylph lost out to Hupert, and I believe, have they lost out to Kalseth? No, they haven't. So them two have only lost out down into 5th and 7th, because Kalseth actually did get the jump on Sylph there. But Patrick Ledger from O'Reilly, from Dan Davis, Tardok, Hupert, Kalseth, Sylph, Williams, Friedman, Clouden, Gary Leach, who's got Mike Matthews looking up the inside on the exit of turn 2 with Matt Wright giving a watching brief there then, and Gary Leach now in that Lexus using that straight line speed of it to just pull away from Mike Matthews, who looks like he's got a bit of damage. He looks like he's struggling. Wright's going to come to the outside line here, can't get the move done there. Mike also has a look back up the inside of Gary. Good little trio of a fight here. It's just ebbing and flowing between the three of them. You see Ben Rook waiting in the background, but he's a bit too far back to do anything at this stage of the race, and Gary there in the air, and Mike nearly make contact.
It's a funny old corner, that one. There is a line. If you get to the inside, you can overtake there, as Gary was proving. And Matt Wright trying to have a run around the outside on Mike Matthews. He's very, very close. Hopefully this doesn't come to tragedy as they go into the very fast right-handers of 9 and 10.
Yeah.
And they both live their way through it.
Good little fight this down at the back of the order. This is allowing Ben to gain on the back of these just for a couple more points. Ben probably had his worst round of the season last week. It was his drop score. And obviously we don't know what happened in the first race tonight, but not the way he'd want to carry on, especially while he's in that fight for a top 3 in the championship.
Tardock's got in front of Dan. Oh, they've just touched. And Dan and Tardock touch at the top of turn 2. I just switched over a bit quickly, and they were in close company. I think Tardock tried to go round the outside. I'm not going to say too much because I only got on board just as they came together.
So Tardock now looking around the outside of turn 3. Dan manages to fend that one off. Tardock looking for the up and under, not close enough to Dan. So we're not sure what happened there. Then again, I was the same as Kelly. Didn't change over till Kelly had mentioned. Carlos are way behind at the moment. But this, O'Reilly now actually bringing that gap down a little bit to Patrick Ledger. Let's take a look at the last lap. So O'Reilly was half a second quicker than Ledger. And Dan and Tardock here matching each other for lap time at the moment. So they are absolutely on it. In fact, Dan was like half a tenth quicker than Tardock last time around. So Tardock must have just got a good run out of turn 1, or Dan maybe had a poor run, or a bit of both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, could have been all that. I mean, this one's just got to be for. I mean, Tardock is way ahead of Dan in the championship. He doesn't need to push this for the points. This has got to be for. This has got to be for fun, for pride. That's what we do it for, isn't it? We raced, you know, to...
Whoa, Tardock's just got a clout up the rear there from Hooper. Hooper brake late. Clouts Tardock up the rear. And like you say, Kelly, Dan's not in a championship fight. Tardock is, but Tardock is ahead of Self by 3 places. So he doesn't want to throw anything away there. But Hooper's gave him a right tap up the rear into turn 1.
Yeah, I was on board with Tardock, and all of a sudden the car went shooting forward. I didn't realise Hooper was quite that close, to be fair.
Just going to drop back down the order. Calcess got Self close to the back of him. Williams has got Friedman close to the back of him. And Mike Matthews and Matt Wright still going at it side by side into 2. Gary's got this all happening in his rear mirrors. Mike gets a horrible run out of 2. Ben Rugg now looks for an opportunity, while Matt Wright properly attacking Gary Leach further forward down in towards turn 3. Nissan versus Lexus. The battle for the second best Japanese car on the grid tonight. And it's the Nissan who looks to come up the inside at turn 3. Gary just drops a wheel onto the gravel. Now the Italian stallion of the Ferrari fancies a run on Gary Leach and gets the move done. Ben Rugg, though, trying to just give a watching brief. He's not challenging too hard. Doesn't want to come out of anything badly there. And Gary loses a handful of places. Now Ben Rugg looks up the inside and backs out of that one easily. But the battle for Japan's second best car on Nissan out on top. I'm only saying that O'Reilly's second on the grid, so he's leading the Japanese cars.
Yeah, of course he is.
Thank you.
Of course he is.
Thank you. No other reason, Kelly.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I don't know where you get this, that you think I don't like Hondas. You know my opinion.
No, you've been saying
Hondas
all night that you want a Honda Jazz badly. While we speak about O'Reilly, Kelly, he's got the gap down to 0.4 of a second. It was 1.6 seconds the last time I looked. It's now 4 tenths. What's happened?
Tardock up the inside of Dan into turn 2. It was a very late move. Went down the inside. Dan saw it coming, to be fair, and just switched back and got the traction. This has now put Hooper in front of Tardock.
Well, Carl Self was wide as well. I don't know if Self got the run. I'm going to stick to the battle for the lead as it's hotting up here into these final few corners, because there's only about 5 corners left on this track, and O'Reilly is right there on Ledger. Ledger could have this win stripped away from him at the end in what has been a fantastic race for the Lamborghini. Not saw the Lamborghini on the top step for a while, and Patrick Ledger here would love a race win. He'd absolutely love one. He's been so good tonight. O'Reilly has 2 corners left. He's looking at the penultimate corner, thinks better of it. Is he going to wait? Is Ledger going to try and hold on to this one? Through the final corner they come. Patrick Ledger is going to win race 1 and round 17 of the evening from Kieran O'Reilly. Dan Davis, a huge, huge podium for momentum in his season. Hoopit gets to the line ahead of Tardok. Sylph gets to the line ahead of Kalsef. Williams from Friedman. Then it's Jamal Clouden. Then it is Matt Wright just ahead of Mike Matthews. In the battle between these two down the order, they cross for 11th and 12th. Ben Rook did get ahead of Gary Leach, and we've just got to wait for Carlos. But I tell you what, Kelly, there was fights throughout the whole grid in this race tonight. We've got an hour's race coming up.
That 30 minutes went incredibly quickly,
20.
didn't it? That was, 20 minutes. That 20 minutes went incredibly quickly. And, wow, that just was over and done in no time at all. And what a bit of racing. Red Bull rig. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant bit of racing as Carlos comes into the final corner now. That was just fantastic. No matter where you look tonight, there was some action happening out there, and it was just fantastic to see. Carlos does cross the line to take that final place out there, then down in P14. I'm just inputting the results at the moment, but what we will do is we will go get a drink, go to the toilet, and come back. We've got an hour of this still to come. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport for round 18 of the season. What a first race we had here tonight. It was absolutely fantastic to see. Those of you that voted Gary Leach in the poll should probably know better by now, as Dan in the chat says my poor little beetle, and even to Fury's granddad in the chat as well. But Kelly, such a dramatic first race. Massive well done to Patrick Ledger there for hanging on in.
Yeah, good racing here at the Red Bull Ring. I've just gone and had a can of Red Bull and popped 2 Pro Plus just to have the energy to commentate on the next hour-long race. Don't do that one at home, kids. I've actually got a Mango Rubicon and a Baby Bell, which, you know, Rubicon will be a sponsor in time. I know you're watching. We need sponsorship. Come along. Yeah, so great first race, and we've got an hour to go this time, Matt. So looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Now, Hupert and Tardock cannot qualify for this race. They have qualifying bans, so they cannot take part in qualifying. Sylph, though, leads the championship 28 points clear of Tardock. What will happen now with Tardock on that qualifying ban? O'Reilly, P3, he's 148 points behind. Hupert back up to 4th with Ben Rook in 5th. Dan Davis tied with Ben Rook for P5 and 6. Dan wants number 1 status back in the team, I reckon. Overtakers P7 with Matt Wright, P8. Jamal Clouden is 9th with Will Friedman 10th. Mike Matthews up to 11th ahead of Michael Harris. Patrick Ledger, Skunky, Viper Hoffer, Carlos, Gary Leach, and then it is McGowan, O'Brien, Calseth, Bates, Richie. Calseth, Williams, Bates, Richie, Collin, Pocket. Teams Championship, 346 points is the gap, so it's gone up a little bit as MSA Racing pull away a little bit more from Team Audio Sports, SimPlay Racing. Then it's Greasy Bandits Racing, who dropped down to 4th now. Obviously, Overtaker's drop score will take place at the end of tonight. Then it's the old school racers, Quantum Motorsport. Quantum Motorsport can no longer win it. Neither can Team FBR, Team SPR, and Effect Motorsport and Redmond Racing down the bottom end of the grid. If you're interested in the Manufacturers' Championship, a lot of people don't care because, you know, most cars are backed by one. McLaren lead by 193 points from Porsche. Then it's Ferrari, Ford, Mercedes, BMW. They're the only teams that can win it. BMW will be eliminated after this race. And then it's Aston Martin, Ginetta, Chevrolet, Alpine, Lamborghini, Nissan, Bentley, Honda, Lexus and Audi.
Great starts.
Thank you. Want another stat?
I'd love one.
Dan Davis has had 3 podiums this year. That takes him to 208 podiums at SimPlay Motorsport. There's one for you. This race will be Jamal Clouden's 150th race start at SimPlay Motorsport.
He's got through a lot in a short time, hasn't he?
He has got through a lot in a short time. So there you go.
Absolutely. Some great stats there, Matt. And we know you're a big stat fan. And you've got them all.
Love a stat. You can't go wrong with a good stat, though, Kelly.
Well, it's something to talk about, isn't it?
Exactly.
Not that we need anything to talk about, but
that's why I've got them in. That's why I've got them in the qualifying, dude. Because I don't think we're going to have time in the race. As we're watching Jamal Clouden come out the final corner. Go on.
Well, as we haven't got time in the race, let's have a quick chat about our charity event coming up the 3rd of May, the May bank holiday weekend, the first May bank holiday weekend. SimPlay are at it again for cancer research. We've done it once before. We raised £1,200 when we did 24 hours of the Nordschleife. What's changed? Well, I'll tell you what's changed. A couple of years, the game has changed, so we're now on ACC as opposed to Project Cars, and the league has changed. It's got bigger and it's got better since we did it last time. We raised £1,200 for charity for cancer research last time. I want $2,500 minimum this time. If you want to get involved, cancer affects so many of us. It touches all our lives in one way or another. I recently lost a friend to cancer, and he was only 60. I'd still have many years of you know, happy memories taken away from him by cancer. We want to beat cancer as much as we possibly can, and you can help us on any way you possibly can. So you can become a driver if you want to take on the challenge of the Nordschleife, and it's not easy, but it's worth the challenge if you think you can do it. 24 hours if you want to be part of a team to do the Nordschleife, we can sort that out for you. If you'd like to join us in the comms box, we'll be here. I'll be here for a certain amount of stints throughout the 24 hours. Matt will be, I'm sure Dan will be, and many others. So we would love for you to join us in the comms box. Come and join us. Come and chit-chat along if you've always fancied commentating and have your say. But above all, we would like you all to donate from £1 to whatever you can afford. I know times are hard, and it's going to be a big ask, but it's an important subject, and we're doing our thing. So we would love you to get involved.
We would love you to get involved, and obviously this is a charity that's close, like Kelly said, so many hearts, and we managed to raise just over £1,200 4 years ago, I think it was, or 3 years ago, I think we said the other day, pretty much to the day as well. I think it was 3 or 4 days before the actual event takes place. We did it last time 3 or 4 years ago, and a charity that is close to so many people's lives and hearts around the world. And like you say, whether it's a penny, whether it's a pound, whether it's £100, whatever it is, whatever you can afford, any donation is much appreciated.
And I tell you what, Matt, and I tell you what, what we do here with SimPlay, this is 5 years of SimPlay and many races. What is done here is done for free. We give our time for nothing. There's no profit made from SimPlay whatsoever. In fact, it costs money to run this league. Design Manchester puts money into this league. I've put money into it as Audio Sport in the past. It takes effort from all the people involved and who give up their time to make this league run, and you guys as spectators, as drivers, have to put nothing in, have to pay nothing, so we're asking you for this once just to give a little bit back. I don't think it's a lot to ask, to be fair.
No, and again, it is much appreciated from everybody here. As Kelly says,
of course,
this is all done by free from everybody, and every donation
we do it because we love it.
Goes along. Yeah, exactly. And 5 years strong. Let's not forget, this was a little COVID thing. This was done throughout COVID, or this started throughout COVID. 5 years later, come August, we're still going strong. We are the best sim league on the console by far. And that's because of not only the drivers and the admin and the stewards and the commentators and everybody put time and effort in, but you guys who watch in and tune in week in, week out. We're also, I noticed today, 921 subscribers. We're fast approaching that at 1,000 subscriber mark. That in itself is a big achievement. So 1,000 subscribers. If every 1,000 subscriber donated £1, there's £1,000 already. So that is a fantastic, achievement. We have actually had a few donations in. There is a link that we need to sort out to get onto the page. But I can actually tell you that we already have £100 in the kitty already, and that's thanks to Sarah Chandler, Mike Matthews, John Gooday, I Have the Monkey, who have all donated. They're the 4 donations so far. So we will get that link sorted, put in the chat. It will be spread around everywhere as we get closer to the time as well. And like Kelly says, you want to commentate, even if it is just some idle chit chat. There is 24 hours. We are not going to be talking about the whole 24 hours worth of racing, because you just cannot. There will be times where there will be a lull in the race, and it will just be idle chit chat. We'll be talking all sorts, from Formula 1, touring cars, GT racing, whatever it can be. It'll be mentioned. So trains, planes, automobiles. Whether you're the good, the bad, or the ugly. Welcome to all the chat. But no, it's just going to be a fantastic weekend, a fantastic 3 days. We're going to be qualifying on the Friday night. The race will start on the Saturday into the Sunday. It's the bank holiday here in the United Kingdom, so everybody will get the Monday off to recover, unless you're in Europe or abroad. But it's going to be a special time. And as well, and one thing we cannot stress enough, and I think this is the biggest part of this, Kelly, is with this being for charity, this is for fun. As much as people want to take it seriously, want to win the race, that's great. Let's not forget this is all for a good cause. Let's try and not retire from the races, because at the end of the day, we don't want to be talking for 12 hours about 4 cars that are going round when a load of cars have retired because of how difficult it has been. If it's hard, return back to the pits. Let's just keep going to the end. We're all doing it for, I can't stand the track. I'm no good at it. I think it's, I love the event of the Nordschleife 24 hour. I don't like to race the circuit, but given this is for charity, I'm going to stick in there for the whole thing.
I was there on the commentating, and I drove on the last one, and me and Dan physically shared a seat. He was at my house, and we shared the driving. We did the full 24 hours, and I was doing 2-hour stints at a time. And before that, I was already a fan of the Nordschleife, and it's a very difficult track to learn, and I'm not Sabine Schmidt, so I kind of know the track. but it's still, I mean, I haven't put a valid lap in on AC6, so, you know, it's a challenge. And as Matt said, we don't want people retiring. If you're going to do it, stick with it. There are going to be people who are going to be 5-6 laps down on the leaders, you know, but anybody could win it. And I really do mean anybody who entered, any team that entered could win it, because it is an endurance, and it isn't just about being the fastest, it's about getting to the end. And you've got as good a chance as anybody. So sign yourselves up, however that's done, Mathew.
So to sign yourself up, you've got to make sure that you are a part of the Discord. Without being a part of the Discord, you will not be able to see the link. Now, the link is also posted in the FBR Discord, as this came from one of the FBR drivers, Paul Williams, who races in Pro-Am. It was his idea due to family members being given the bad news of cancer recently. He was the one who decided and came up with the idea, wants us to run it. So if you're in the FBR Discord, or if you're in the SimPlay Motorsport Discord, that is where you can see the link. The link will take you to SimGrid. You have to make sure you've got a team and register as a team with whatever drivers you want that is in your team, and in whatever order. We'll obviously get into finer details. You can have 4 drivers per team. Now, at the moment, if you're watching and thinking, I'm not in either Discord, but I'd like to sign up through the SimGrid, that isn't possible at the moment. The link is hidden. So the event you will not be able to see on SimGrid, as we are trying to give the chance to the FBR community and the SimPlay Motorsport community and get that going first. It will open up to the general public and to anybody on SimGrid closer to the time, but we wanted to keep this as a community-based thing between the two communities, and go from there. So we'll let you know. But like we say, 4 drivers per team. The driver who qualifies on the Friday night cannot start the race on the Saturday. That is something to keep in mind. And it will be a solo effort on the Friday night. You have to qualify in the car you sign up with, and it'll be a solo effort. It'll be a half-an-hour qualifying, in which I will bring you the broadcast on that Friday evening, live with qualifying. The grid order will then be set for the Saturday, and we will get racing. There'll be like a 20-minute practice, half-an-hour practice for drivers and teams to be able to get into the lobby. There'll be a driver briefing beforehand in the Discord channel. And then, we'll be able to start at 24 hours. I think it's like 2 in the afternoon, I think we're starting, UK time. So GMT plus 1. And with them going until 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday.
Absolutely. So if you want to get involved, let me just be clear. You don't have to run 4 drivers.
No, you don't have to run. You can run 1, 2, 3 or 4. It is your choice.
Okay, and as I say, me and Dan did it between us the last time. The last time we were on Project Cars, and you've got an AI driver you can put in. So we haven't got that luxury on ACC, have we? No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. No.
No. So if you're going to sign up and do it on your own, remember you've got to do it on your own. 24 hours. It's a challenge in itself. So, but 1 to 4 drivers. Get yourself a team, whatever you want to call that team, and. Are you laughing at Mike Matthews' comment?
Yeah, and then I've just seen the leaderboard and he's 3rd.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting a bit of a nosebleed. It must be up in these Stirring Mountains that you know, that he's got himself a bit of a nosebleed. Yeah,
that's absolutely brilliant. That's brilliant. Mikey's doing it solo. Mikey's one of the drivers who's doing it solo as well. That's what he means by that. He is. I think Mike's been. I'm sure Mike's been through cancer before and has come out the other side the better for it, and he wants to do it on his own as the challenge of not only the Nordschleife, but the fact he's had to go through such a thing. He wants to do it solo to try and hopefully, you know, encourage people to just donate a bit more money for him doing it on his own.
And my hat's off to him. That's going to be a real challenge, you know, just staying up for 24 hours.
Well, I'm going to put pressure on him, Kelly.
Right.
Obviously, you know the line of work I do at the moment. I keep my eyes on a lot of esports, official esports stuff, whether it's iRacing or whatever it may be. In the official iRacing Nordschleife 24-hour, which Max Verstappen did his stint after qualifying of the Imola Grand Prix last year, if you remember rightly, he got told off by Red Bull. The guy who finished 3rd in that race did it solo.
Well, there you go.
So there you go, Mike.
So it's doable.
It's more than doable.
More than doable, absolutely. So, I mean, when we did it before, me and Dan both stayed awake, as you did, Matt, for the 24 hours. But we didn't drive the whole thing for 24 hours. So
I didn't drive a single second.
No, not a single lap or a single half corner, but to be fair. So, I look forward to that. hopefully Mike can do it. I will be backing him all the way, without putting a commentator's curse on him. There's plenty of spares, so you can keep going back to the pits.
Yeah, and this is it, isn't it? You know, if you do have a crash and you think, oh, that's my race, just go back to the pits. Let it repair the damage.
Yeah.
Unlike project cars, when you go to the pits, it doesn't retire you. You'll have a 2-minute wait time plus the damage you have to repair, and then you can come back out on track. So always make sure you do that. Qualifying has came to an end though, Kelly. There's only one man left on a lap, and that is Dan Davis. And he looks like he's, second place for him alongside O'Reilly. If he finds 3/10, he might get the pole.
He's just run a little bit wide there, a bit squirrely as he's coming through it. Yeah, again, a lot of... That's invalid. I think he's done, invalid lap. So lucky. The first top 3 without a Mustang in it of the season.
Yeah. And for some reason, Mike Matthews is in it. Jamal Clouden, I'm noting, he's the big one without a lap time on the board.
Yeah, what happened to Jamal? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to him. I was too busy talking about the Nordschleifer. So, I don't know what happened to him there. And, so Tardok and Hooper, wasn't it? That
Tardok and Hooper couldn't qualify. So Carlos didn't get a lap time on the board.
Yeah.
And neither did Jamal Cloud, and Mike Matthews, dizzy heights of 3rd place. He must have forgot what it feels like to be up there. And like I say, it must be the altitude getting to him a little bit.
Must be.
Yeah. Ben down in ninth. Sorry, I'm just inputting the stats. Ben down in ninth. Okay, Dan second place. Dan and O'Reilly though. Hey, look, we've said all season that they're the two to take the fight to the MSA drivers all season. I'd say O'Reilly's possibly had a better rub of the green than Dan in terms of that fight in recent weeks. I'd kind of say that Dan had the better in the first half. O'Reilly's had the better of the second half of the season so far. But tonight, they're both, they're both up there ahead of the MSA drivers.
Absolutely. We've lost Gary Leach.
We have lost Gary Leach.
Yeah. What's happened to him? Is he, hopefully he can get back in?
He can get back in. So I'm not 100% sure what has happened to him, but hopefully he does get back in. That'll be a shame to not have Gary take to this race.
Yeah, absolutely.
He may get in and have to start from the pit lane if he misses the start of this race, but he should be able to get back in. That, though, for the Honda, that is a huge milestone. It hasn't, I don't believe it's had a pole position since its Project Car Tuesdays. Right? When it was the Acura. So that is huge in itself. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've been doing an American League. They call it the Acura. I've got used to saying Acura.
You did in betting.
Yeah, you put an Acura on. Yeah, on the Grand National this weekend. Actually, I'll have a couple of.
Have you having a flutter?
I always have a flutter on the National. It's in the horse race. It's the only horse race I actually have a flutter on. Not that we condone gambling, by the way. Gamble responsibly.
Absolutely not.
And all that. But that for the Honda it says it's its 4th pole position of the season. Has O'Reilly had 4 pole positions this season? Apparently he has.
Oh well, there you go. Look.
So it's
You're
not
the man of the stats.
Yeah,
so.
I've read that wrong. It's Honda's 4th pole. That's its 19th pole position. It's got some way to catch up to the Ferrari. That's on 32. So, yeah,
some way. Yes. But it is on pole, and it's O'Reilly on pole. This could be a nice little scrap, actually, O'Reilly and Dan.
Yeah.
This could be an interesting one. Hopefully they all get through turn 1 cleanly. We will see. Obviously, Tardok and... where's Sil? Sil's in 4th, isn't he? Tardok and Hooper with a lot of work to do. Jamal Clouden in between the two of them. Don't know why he didn't qualify.
He did do laps. I kept flicking between the cars. He was lapping.
Yeah.
Just obviously didn't get a lap time on the board.
No, maybe didn't. For whatever reason, couldn't get a valid lap in. I'm quite surprised at that. I don't know what happened to him, but there we go. That we are where we are. So I say I'm looking forward to this one with O'Reilly and Dan, as long as they get through the first turn cleanly, and we'll have a race on our hands, I think.
We will indeed, and this is going to be an interesting stage of this race, I reckon. Lamborghini took its 75th race win. Honda got its 71st podium. Porsche got its 318th podium. Porsche's got the most podiums at SimPlay Motorsport. And Lamborghini getting the win, its podium counted as 240. you remember back in the Project Cars 2 days that Mercedes, Porsche and Lamborghini was the top 3 cars
the cars to have
on the game, wasn't they? And then you looked at now, McLaren's came into the mix up there as well. Audi sort of come into the mix because of ACC, as well as Ferrari have come sort of into the mix as well now as BMW. Renault, 69 race starts, 25 podiums, 4 pole positions and 5 race wins.
Okay, I think some of them must have been to do with me.
One was, I think, one or two was you. One may have been Gary. One was Nicky, something like that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but there you go. The Renault stats are all there for you, Kelly.
Not that I'm a big Renault fan, to be honest, John.
No, it was a strange car choice, but
it was a strange.
You and Nicky rolled with it. I tell you what, phenomenal car at Donington Park. Phenomenal car at Donington Park.
It had its moments, just not many of them.
Yeah. Either way, we round the final corner for round 18 of the season. Don't forget, if you are new here, hit that thumbs up button if you like what you see. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified, as well as go into the description and check out our fantastic sponsors of Design Manchester and Audio Sport. We'll try and get into them a little later on in the race, and we'll read the proper paragraphs out. As for round 18 of the season, it's green and go. Tardot's got himself a drive-through penalty, so that's going to make his start even worse. Dan's got the inside line. That's going to help him into turn 1. It's Mike Matthews who's trying to go around the outside of that of Sylph. Contact's a little bit made, and Sylph into the wall. So Sylph with damage. Tardot with a drive-through, and in fact Tardot's round with him. They've both span at turn 1. And who's that with them? There's Matt Wright and Jamal Clouden as well, and another MSA car.
Oh dear, absolute carnage. I've stayed on board with the leaders, and it's O'Reilly into turn 1. Mike Matthews has gone along with them. Dan pressuring O'Reilly, but it's hang on, Dan O'Reilly. Carlos no, he's not in the mix. Will Freeman, that's who I'm looking at, who has a look onto the inside of Mike Matthews into turn 3, goes out, has a look round, but Mike Matthews has the inside line in the shorter run out of the corner, gets the traction down, but still out front. It's Dan pressuring O'Reilly, trying to get the job done into lap 1, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think these top 3 are going to settle down for a minute.
And it looks
What's going on further back?
It looks like we didn't get Gary Leach take to the start of this race, but what is going on further back, because Carlos was the other driver that was around, and now you see there, look, that it is Jamal Clouden who's trying to fight Matt Wright, who's ahead of them, the 3 MSA drivers, with Tarlock having a drive-through penalty for being out of position at the start. Ben Rook's on the back of Caltech and Williams, the only 2 other MSA drivers who's managed to have a better start in this one. Then it's Mike Matthews, who has now actually put the pressure on Dan Davis. Dan's had a bit of a poor end to this lap. He's lost out, and now Mike Matthews pulls to the outside line on Dan Davis. 3 times Constructors champions with each other, teammates of the last 3 seasons, and now Will Freeman gets an up and under on Mike Matthews and gets ahead. Great manoeuvre from the Porsche driver.
Unfortunately, Mike left himself vulnerable by going to the outside. He looked to go around the outside into turn 1, which really opened the door wide for Friedman. Friedman just tucked into the back of Dan's Porsche and just rolled through and said, thank you very much. I'll be having that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mama, for the carrots.
He could have said that. That might have been what he said.
Now, Williams looking to the outside of Mike Matthews, nearly put onto the grass as Mike squeezed him on the outside. Ooh. And Williams up and under, not quite there. Friedman's attacking Dan. You've got Ben on the back of Calsef just behind this Mike and Williams fight, and I think this is the closest fight on track. Friedman just getting closer to Dan as Williams again looking to the outside of turn 4 of Mike Matthews. Dan, did he just drop a wheel onto the gravel there? We can see all 3 of these fights happening. Look, there's the first fight, there's the second fight, there's the third fight, and then behind that you've got Ledger and Hoopert having a scrap. But while all this is happening, O'Reilly is checked out, and we've lost Carlos from this race.
Carlos is gone now. That's not so good. Tardot with an absolute horror story, and is now 25 plus seconds behind after doing his drive-through penalty, as Dan is too busy having to keep a watching brief on Friedman. This is letting O'Reilly get away a little bit. 1.2 ahead as Friedman has a look down into turn 1. Can't make it happen. Compromises his line. Go on, Matt.
Williams nearly tapped the rear of Mike as he was looking to the outside. Mike had defended that inside line. That's allowed Calsef and Ben Rook through then. So Calsef now in the slipstream of Mike Matthews. He pulls to the outside. Williams pulls to the inside on Ben Rook. And here we go. In towards turn 2. Mike stays ahead. Ben stays ahead. And it's all carnage. Ooh. Mike gets a horrible run out of turn 2. Here comes Calsef at the moment. Oh, they touch!
Oh, they touch!
And in the wall. Excuse me, got excited.
Yeah, we got that. Get yourself together, Matt. That was Mike Matthews in the ball. Speared to the right. They touched doors, and Mike got speared off into the right. It's the dizzy heights from Mike Matthews going backwards now. Williams still close on Ben Rook, but Kalseth now can work on getting back on the back of Will Friedman, who is still close to Dan, who has just brought the gap down to O'Reilly, only by a tenth or two, but looks like Dan and Friedman are still going forward towards O'Reilly.
And with all this happening here, by the way, that's allowed Patrick Ledger and Hooper to get on the back of Williams and Ben Rook and Kalseth as well. Might look like he got away with that pretty easily there, although I say that, is he pulling into the pit lane at the moment, Mike Matthews? He is. So Mike Matthews clearly has more damage on that car than what it may have stated already, but Friedman on the back of Dan Davis, not really getting any closer, and it's a non-Ford in the top five here. It's Honda, Porsche, Ferrari, Aston Martin.
Oh, side by side, Kalseth and Ben Rook went side by side in turn one. I thought there was going to be contact, but there wasn't. They managed to stay away. This is give Williams a nice run up on the outside of Ben Rook, but can he make it stick out there? Ben Rook's got the inside line. He's later on the brakes, much later. Does he get it slowed down?
Patrick Ledger makes a lunge on the inside of Williams there. Just as Ben got it stopped and made a move, Ledger got it stopped. That made Hooper and Williams have contact with each other. And all of a sudden, the Fords drop down another place as Patrick Ledger gets past one. And then is that Hooper, I think, has got past Patrick Ledger there? No, it's Williams back in front of Ledger.
Yeah, I keep dropping back a position. I always ride on board to try and watch the best of the action, because it's only me that can see my screen. And I keep dropping back a car because when something happens, somebody else gets in the mix.
Yeah.
And I'm on with I'm on with Hooper now. He's close with Ledger. Ben Rook's managed to break away from these guys a little bit. He's got Kalseth in front of him, a little bit of a gap now to Will Freeman, who is still close behind Dan, and O'Reilly's pulled away a little bit. He's made half a second or so away from the Porsches, so he's moving forward, and action up and down the field.
Dan's just pulled a couple of tenths back on O'Reilly in that final sector, but that's where the traction zones are, aren't they? That middle sector for Dan isn't really a traction zone as Ben Rook sends it up the inside. Ben got that horribly wrong. Caught turn one, hits the pit wall, and he's going to lose out at least 2, maybe even 3 places. Ben Rook, Dale $8 short there, and that is him going to lose 1, 2, and possibly 3. But he was so late on the brakes, he took to the inside. It looked as if to avoid the back of Kalseth, bounced off the pit wall. And a bit of a mistake there from Ben.
Hooper having to go at Ledger on the inside. I didn't think he was going to get that slowed down, and to be fair, Ledger gave him plenty of racing room.
Tell you what, Kelly, there's a lot of door banging tonight.
There is honestly, there is an awful lot of door banging, a lot of touchy-feely, if you know what I mean. They're all just little... Hooper.
Williams has just had a moment in front of Hooper. It's as if the car snapped on him on putting the accelerator down, and he's lost now out 3 places as he drops off the back of Kalseth, and Ledger, Hooper and Ben Rook all get through. But yeah, it's very touring car-esque, I'd say, tonight, Kelly.
Yeah. It's nice, as spectators, it's lovely, and that's what we want, good hard racing, you know, and some brave moves this evening, but nothing outrageous. We want hard racing, but we don't want people crashed out of the race either, we want everyone to have a fair crack, but we like the hard racing. As Hooper now is in the slip of Ledger once again. Ben Rook with a watching brief as we go into turn 1 again, and everyone runs a little bit wide up over the sausage curve there. Where's Ledger? There's Ledger. Ledger and Kalseth a little bit out on his own now in a strong 4th place, but Will Friedman right on the back of Dan's Porsche. I can read the sponsorship on the back of his the back of Dan's
this could
Porsche.
Be a good move here from Hooper. He got to the outside of Ledger. Ledger took too fine a line onto turn 2, and that Ledger's flashing the lights there. I saw nothing wrong with that. That was a good move from Hooper round the outside at turn 2. Now Ledger's coming under pressure from Ben Rook, who is to the outside of turn 3. And can Ben maybe look for the up and under, or if he can hold it round the outside, he'll have the inside line for 4. No, not alongside enough at this stage of the race. So Hooper moves up ahead of Ledger, and it was a good move as well. Down the order then, Jamal Clouden is side by side with Silf on the exit of turn 3. These two are trying to catch back up to that pack with Matt Wright just in front of him. And Clouden coming through and keeps hold of that position there, does Jamal Clouden.
Yes, indeed. As I said, as I was saying earlier, Friedman gets so close to the back of Dan's Porsche. I can read the writing on the back of it, and it says follow Team Audio Sport at YouTube. Go and subscribe. 87 subscribers, getting close to that 90 mark. Just a couple more now. I reckon we can do it by the end of the season. But again, O'Reilly, a second and a half ahead. Is he controlling this race? He's not getting away, but he's keeping that nice little second and a half gap to Dan, as Friedman just drops off in this, had a bit of a scruffy traction zone, and just drops off a little bit. Kelseth again out on his own, not being bothered by anybody at the moment.
To go back to what you've just said, O'Reilly keeps it around a second and a half. Between him and Dan, it's ebbing and flowing in terms of the sector times and everything. O'Reilly 2/10 quicker on the last lap. I don't think O'Reilly needs to pull away massively. I think he's got a comfortable gap to Dan, and that is fine for O'Reilly, because we've seen that sometimes when he starts to push the Honda is when the Honda starts to disagree with him. So at the moment, I think O'Reilly's sitting in a good window. But I also think so is Dan and Friedman, because when they seem to push, the Porsche does the same as the Honda. Just seems to act strangely.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, winning a race isn't always about just going as fast as you possibly can. It's about a management. We've got an hour of this, and they're going to want to make the tyres go. It's cold. The track is still only fast. It's never made optimum. We're only at 5 degrees track temperature. They're going to be struggling with heat in their tyres. You've got to get it to the end, Matt. It isn't just about going as fast as you can. It's about getting to the end. As Dan has a horrible exit out of the last corner. Gets very wide, but so does Friedman, to be fair. So it's kind of status quo for those two. As they're pushing hard enough, but Dan goes wide again into turn one. Friedman catches up behind him. We got a long way to go before the pit stop. We're only 10 minutes into this race at the moment.
Yeah, we've got about 14 minutes left until the pit window opens, and Will Friedman's looking to the outside of Dan. Late lunge back to the inside there, and that's just distracted Dan a little bit. I think Friedman just maybe showing his nose on the inside late, distracted Dan, and Will Friedman is going to get past. And well, what a little piece of trickery that was from the Frenchman. Dan's not giving this one up though, to the outside of turn 3. And Dan may be looking for that up and under as he comes through 3 in towards 4. No, Dan not close enough to get the up and under. He's now got to sit behind Will Friedman. But whether that was Dan being caught out on the brakes there, or whether that was Friedman just playing a little mind trick on Dan there by looking to that inside line, either way, it worked and he got through.
Very difficult, especially in these night conditions, Matt, to understand what the driver behind you is doing.
You're just seeing headlights.
Yeah, the mirror gives you really no reference points in the dark, apart from just headlights. You don't know where they're going and what they're doing. To try and judge what people are doing is extremely difficult, and it does look like Dan just got a little bit caught out on the brakes, and Will was there to capitalise on that. Or, as you said, did he set it up to work that way? If he did, and Friedman just pulling away a little bit. I think Friedman's just got the edge on Dan as far as pace at the moment at this stage of the race. Ben
Rutt's got past Patrick Ledger down for 6th and 7th, and Hupert has passed out of Kelseth, so Hupert becomes the first forward into the top 4 now. Mike Mathew still on the lead lap, as is Tardock. They'll cross the line. It's saying they're a lap down at the minute, but when they cross the line, that'll all change. Jamal Clouden still got Sylph behind him. Jamal's not really making inroads on Matt Wright, and you didn't curse him this week.
No, I might as well have done. You know. Yeah. I thought all his bad luck was down to me last week, but obviously he's carried that on to this week, and not having the great race. There's a few people who've had a little bit of a shocker tonight, but this track does...
Sylph's got past him. Sylph's got the run out to turn 2, and he's got past Jamal pretty comfortably there, so Sylph has the job done on Jamal Clouden.
This track does... encourage overtaking, doesn't it? There's lots of opportunities, which is great, and you know, Ledger and Ben Rook still close as well, and as I said, there's a lot of opportunities on this track to overtake, which makes for great racing, but it can also tumble down the order. You know, Tardock and Mike having a terrible race too, and a long way to go, still 45 minutes left to go. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen with 11 minutes till the pit window opens. Gary Leach, not sure what happened to him, but he didn't take the start of this race. He wasn't there at the end of qualifying, and then we have lost Carlos in this race. after the first couple of laps. He pitted early, and then that was it, into the retirement zone he went, and we are approaching that three-quarter distance mark in terms of what is left in this race. Carlos won't be able to achieve three-quarter distance, so therefore it won't even count as points either. So I think that is Carlos done for this race, and yeah, that'll be a shame for him. But we've got a good little fight here between Ledger and Rook, and it just seems to, again, Rook seems to have opened that gap up a little bit from Patrick Ledger.
Yeah, it always seems it seems like these pro boys are pushing really hard. As I said, the track is not an optimum, and it's very, very cold out there. And with somebody pressuring you, you're going to be driving on your wits. And again, especially as I said, the mirror just doesn't tell you really where the person is behind you. It's difficult to judge that. And I think these pros have been pushing the limits tonight.
Yeah, I'd thoroughly agree with you on that one. I think that the pros have pushed the limits, and that they have really sort of found that without pushing too hard, because obviously we've not had any drive-through penalties for track limits, so I think they've kept it pretty clean as well. Clouden still trying to stick to the back of Sylph, as it all just starts to get a little strong out. 208, yellow flag for the 208. That is Will Friedman. So he's had a moment, and I am assuming, I'm assuming this didn't involve Dan, because we know that Dan is one of them racers that will stop and wait, and so Dan carries on his way.
The last time I checked on him, Will Friedman had checked out 2 seconds up the road. O'Reilly was another 2 seconds in front of that. It must have been a mistake from Will. That must have been, which has cost him dearly. Because he's now got Hooper in between him and Dan, and Hooper's not going to be easy to overtake. He's MSA-ish guy, and quick in that Mustang, so he's not going to be easy to get round. So Will with a bit of a mountain to climb now.
Yeah, and that kind of releases Dan. Hoopert's gained from 5 seconds down to 2.7 at the moment. So Hoopert's closed in on Dan Davis, but you don't know if Dan had to avoid Will Friedman or anything, and maybe lost a little bit of time there, because Dan's gap to O'Reilly is now, as we wait for him to come through the sector time, 5.6. So maybe Dan had to avoid that of Will Friedman.
Possibly.
But I'm just looking at sort of lap times at the moment, and Dan's last lap was a 29.1. Friedman did a 35.4, while O'Reilly did a 28.2. So that would suggest to me that Dan definitely had to sort of avoid Will or dodge Will as Will was having his moment. But I tell you what, Craig Tordock here, his fastest lap is a 27.9. That is incredible pace. The only man in the 27s. And what a shame for Mike Matthews, because his pace as well is out of the 28s. So right there in the pack, Sylph with a 29.0. He's losing out. Sorry, no. That was Matt Wright with a 29.0. Jamal owned in the 29s as well. So he's just losing time. Got nothing in that McLaren. Ledger and Ben gaining on Kalsef and have pretty much kept the gap between each other as the same. Pretty interesting race so far.
Absolutely, and I don't know if Will Friedman's now got damage, but Kalsef is within a second and a bit of him, but Ben Rook is reeling in Kalsef a little bit, and Ledger's just there just behind. So this could turn into quite a nice scrap. We've still got 7 minutes, nearly 8 minutes before the pit window, and who rushes in for tyres, and who doesn't? Again, cold night tonight, Matt. Could they go the distance on the tyres? I think they could.
I'm not sure. Last night I was watching Kieran and Monkey Boy, Kieran Argent and Andrew Taylor, and there was a lot of tyre wear going on out there. Kieran seemed to change his tyres. Cars in front didn't. He was losing a second and a half per lap to Kieran Argent, and Kieran wasn't lapping strong, let's say. Kieran was capable of lapping a lot quicker. But that's what made it interesting for me, Kelly, is the fact that I thought that tyre wear maybe seemed higher. Now, is that because track temp, it's 5 degrees out there, the race starts at 1 in the morning, it's heading to 2 a.m, so it's not going to get any warmer as Ledger gets a good run on Ben, pulls to the outside line of turn 1. Will he have a look round the outside? What's going to happen here? He does. Ben pretty much stops on the corner there. It looks like Ben just struggled a little bit through that section, and Ledger still side by side with Ben. So I'm unsure, Kelly, I'm unsure whether to take tyres or not. You can see a lot of marbles, which we didn't see a lot of at Imola.
I mean, Mike Matthews in practice as Ledger has another go up the inside of Ben Rook, and I think Ben might have been good to him there. as he takes the switch back and tries to get back to the inside line, as they're pretty much side by side again. I've dropped back a car to Williams to try and watch these two in action because they're side by side. Ledger now tries to take the inside line. Doesn't work so well on turn 3. You can't get the traction on the inside to make it work. So Ben stays ahead for now. But this turned into quite a nice scrap between these two.
Yeah, it really is.
Mike Matthews in practice did 20 laps comfortably on his tyres. That's half hour worth of stint. I don't know. I think it would be possibly be a brave man who takes tyres, but I think it's possibly doable.
I think it's doable.
I'd have a go at it.
Yeah, but you're a tyre whisperer.
Well, yeah, that's because I don't go fast enough.
I didn't want to say that. You should have just gone with, yes, I am. I'm really good on my tyres.
I'm tight, and I like to get the best out of my tyres because they cost money. You know.
O'Reilly's opened that gap up 6.4 seconds to Dan. Dan's now got a 2.5 gap to Hooper. Will Freeman from Caltech. This is the battle for P6 between Ben Ruck, Patrick Ledger. Just Williams just getting within a second of Ledger. Matt Wright 1.2 behind. He's got Silf within 7/10. Clouden down 5 seconds now off the back of Silf, so he's struggling. Tordok, after his drive-through, is 13 seconds off the back.
Oh, Ben's gone deep.
He has gone deep. That's going to allow Ledger through. In fact, Ledger, I think, might already be passed. He is just...
I think Ledger hesitated a bit, really, because Ben went very, very wide. And I don't know if Ledger just hesitated a little bit to see what was happening, because Ben didn't lose that much time to him.
I think the drivers who's gone that deep at that corner, if they've then just kind of gone down with the power, it's easy to lose the rear on the marbles and round you come. So maybe Ledger just anticipated Ben possibly dropping the car, but like you say, he didn't gain that much time over Ben. He has got ahead though, and that's the most important thing for Ledger, the race winner in race 1. This little battle though has got Brendan Williams gaining on the back of them. Matt Wright and Silf are coming as well, and Jamal's just got no pace. He's down to 6.3 behind Silf. Tordok's gaining on him. No, he can't blame you this time. Mike Matthews, by the way, 32 seconds behind Tordok, so that shows you the gap there.
Yes, indeed. Mike with another absolute shocker. And back in the Project Cars days, we've referenced Project Cars quite a lot this evening, but we used to not speak Mike Matthews' name, his gamer tag of Peaceful Explosion, because we thought we'd always curse him. But we just used to call him
and even that didn't work.
No, that
didn't work. Ben Ruck's got to run on the outside up in towards turn 2 on Patrick Ledger. Will he go for that up and under? He thinks about it. Ledger gets it stopped nicely, and Ledger actually kind of stops that momentum of Ben getting out the corner. This has brought Williams right into play, as Ben and Williams both on the grass there, trying to come down the hill towards turn 3. Matt Wright and Silf are right there. Ben now looks to the outside of Patrick Ledger, and look at this, we've got a 5-way battle for P6. This is fantastic racing.
Absolutely, that was a bit of a touring car move from Ledger there. Parked it right up on the apex, held everybody up, brought Williams back into play while he was defending from Ben, which gives Ben something else to be thinking about now. But
I think Ben's struggling. I think Ben's struggling, Kelly. 2 corners now. He just seems to have a mid-corner wiggle. Not a big moment, but just enough to stop that momentum out the corner.
Yes, the only man running the Aston Martin in Pro, and mainly he's making it work. He's been pretty much best of the rest after the MSA boys as far as results go. He's been there and thereabouts, and he's been making that Aston work. It's supposed to be a good car anyway. But just tonight, is it not just tonight? Is he just not got it set up, balanced the way he wants? It seems to be a bit of a handful.
It does look that way at the moment, doesn't it? It doesn't seem... We've seen Ben look a lot more comfortable. The bonus for Ben is Williams had a bit of a poor exit in the last couple of corners. We dropped down to Matt Wright. Look, Matt Wright's closer to Williams, and Williams is closer to Ben Ruck. He's got Silf hassling the back of Tordok. Is within 10 seconds of Jamal Clouden now. Silf has a look at the inside of Matt Wright. Can't get the momentum out the corner. It seems if you go tighter to turn 2, you get a poorer exit.
Absolutely, and Matt Wright did exactly the right thing for him and for the racing situation. Stayed out wide on the outside, but it gave him traction. I think you're quite right. If you try to hug that inside into 2, it doesn't do you any good. You can't get on the power. And again, from a defending point of view, stay on the outside. Give enough space, but enough to keep you in the traction zone is the way to run it, I feel.
Yeah, I feel you the same. there. So Ben and Ledger's just gapped Williams a little bit at this moment. Dan still 6.4 off the back of O'Reilly. Looking at the lap times, Dan was a bit quicker than O'Reilly last time around. Hoopert's quicker than the pair of them, as is Will Friedman. And then down to these lot, 29s into the 30s for Brandon Williams last time around. So definitely struggling. Tarlock, quickest man on track last time around with a 28.2. So he is flying so far. But it's been a good night's worth of fighting. A little less in this second race, obviously with a few cars dropping out. Sylph gets a run though, or tries to get the run on Matt Wright out to the final corner. Matt Wright still just a full car in front. Does Sylph now get alongside? Is he braver on the brakes? No, he's not. Matt Wright holds position. What happened, Kelly?
Ben was right on the back of Ledger, and I kind of flicked from one to the other, and when I flicked back, Ben was already sideways through that corner again, just lost it mid-corner. Williams is now through because Ben lost momentum, but again on the brakes he just seemed to the whole thing four-wheel slide and just went drifting off into the runoff zone. Ben definitely struggling and dropping down in positions now.
Yeah, he has. He's lost out to that of Williams in the Ford Mustang. And Ben, like I say, just something doesn't seem right in that car. 18 seconds, by the way, till the pit window opens. So let's see what happens here. I think O'Reilly's going to miss it because you've got to be below the white line. Let's not forget. Although, actually, you could probably time this correct and get in now because you're not going to get to the pit limiter line. Sorry.
Who's gone backwards? Who was behind Dan?
Hooper's down to 5th.
Hooper's gone backwards.
Yeah, he has gone backwards. Well noticed, Kelly. Didn't notice that one there. He has dropped backwards. He's dropped down to P5. Isn't a million miles away from that of Patrick Ledger. Williams is going to come into the pit lane. So Ben's just kind of got to have his run compromised a little bit. But at least, you know, rules have been read. Jamal Cloudon's going to come in. I wonder if Tardock and Mike Matthews might also come in just to get that pit stop out of the way. But you're right, Dan lost out a bit more to O'Reilly, but he's now going to have Will Friedman hunting him down.
Yeah, but that does give Dan a little bit more breathing space. Hooper was catching him, but not at a rate of knots, and he brought it down to 1.3, and Hooper must have had a bit of a problem. So Daniel gets to breathe again, because Friedman is now 3 seconds behind. But Dan to O'Reilly now 7 seconds. O'Reilly with a comfortable gap at the moment. We'll see how the pit stops shake out, and who can make gains throughout that. Williams and Cloudon in the pits at the moment. And who was I on board with? Hooper.
Tardock stayed out. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, so Williams and Cloudon in the pits. Still
Mike
in the
stays
pits
out
at the
as
moment.
well.
Yeah. Mike stayed out. So only two decide to pit early and quickly. And we'll see how it pans out for others. What would you do, Matt? Is it a case of getting the best out of these tyres while they're warm?
I don't know. Tricky situation. Jamal looked like he had no pace here, so I'd possibly go. Maybe he's got his tyre pressures wrong and maybe look to go. Because let's not forget, by the way, as well, they've gone 7 minutes longer than race 1. So, you know, they've gone that 7 minutes extra. Williams and Cloudon all out the pits. And
Friedman's in.
Cloudon has gone a lap down through the pit stops to Kieran O'Reilly. Obviously, Kieran O'Reilly's got to pit again. But yeah, difficult one, I think, Kelly. I think this is an interesting one to see.
Yes, indeed. Stealth's gone into the pits as well. So we've got Friedman and Stealth in the pits at the moment. They're the ones who choose to go this time round. Pit window got just under 8 minutes to go, and a minute and a half around this track. And so you've got plenty of time to make that pit stop tonight.
I've got no pit stop information for you because the information it tells me about drive-throughs and everything was before the Red Bull ring came out on this game, so I need to find an updated version as Kalsef's slow there, allowing Hooper through.
Yes, indeed, and I don't know what that was about. I don't know, what happened there, but Hooper through and on his way. He's still to pit, of course. Your highest pitted driver at the moment is Friedman. He's
just exiting the pits as well.
Yep, he's back on his way. It's a strange pit entry on this one, as we said. It's on the racing line, and they've been red to riot act. They have to stay inside that white line, or you get a penalty. So it's a case of you have to compromise your run into the pits. You can't just go out wide, take your normal racing line, and then dive into the pits. You have to think about it a corner before, really. And as you said, you compromise the person behind you as well. So it's a dangerous little pit in, this one. It's
going to be the same at Watkins Glen. That one starts, the yellow line there, it is, starts before the final corner. And again, you just compromise that driver's run. And the post went out from the admins in the week saying, you know, and I assume the same post will go out for Watkins Glen, that look, this is the pit entry. If the car is committed to the right, is in the pit lane, and a car who's not pitting hits that other car, pretty much a slam dunk penalty. But at the same time, what we can't be having is drivers coming out the penultimate corner and cutting right across the circuit to get into the pit lane, because otherwise that's just going to cause chaos. Dan and Ben Rook, are in the pit lane at the moment. We're on with Cal Seth, who's now running P3. O'Reilly 16 seconds ahead of Hooper, but his closest rival was Dan Davis, and Friedman behind him. Moving. Where is Will Friedman? So Danny's moving. Let's go down to Will Friedman. This could be tight. Danny's off the limiter. Let's just go to the helicopter camera. We can't pick up Dan Davis, so that means Will Friedman has got the... Dan Davis has got the job done. Does Friedman look a little closer?
He does. He looks a little bit closer. We're waiting till it shakes out and we get the numbers on that.
What was it? About
3 seconds.
Yeah, just under 2.8, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but now it's reading as 2.1. So
Friedman
has made a net gain.
Yeah,
he's made a net gain, absolutely, on that. So we resume this battle. If Friedman pulls up into the back of Dan, we resume the battle that we started this race with, and I'm sure Dan's looking forward to that.
O'Reilly's in the pits as we're halfway through the race, as is Cal Seth at the moment. Mike and Tardock haven't pitted yet. They was down the order, let's not forget. They haven't yet come into the pit lane this time around, so we'll see what happens for them too. But this is Friedman on Dan. That gap's down to 1.6. Don't forget though, Friedman's tyre is going to be a lot more up to temperature and pressure than what Dan Davis's was, as O'Reilly leaves his pit box. Let's see when he comes off the limiter. But going that lap earlier for Friedman gets his tyres up to temperature a bit quicker.
Absolutely, and if it's anything like Imola, I certainly found it takes 2 or 3 laps to get those tyres warm and up to temp and up to pressure. Remembering that we're on again not an optimum track, and it's only 5 degrees out there. It took a couple of laps at Imola to get the tyres where
Ben
you
Rook,
want
sorry
them.
Kelly, Ben Rook a little wide out the final corner, bounced along the curb, nearly lost the rear. That's allowed Sylph to get an easy run up the inside, and through goes Sylph on Ben Rook into turn 1.
Yes, indeed, job done for Stilth. That was reasonably easy for him.
Dan gained time as well, by the way, because that was over 7 seconds to O'Reilly. Dan down to 5.4. So, good stop from Dan, that.
Maybe a steady one from O'Reilly. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he kind of had a steady stop, didn't want to mess it up. You know, he's in a good, solid position. You know what it's like when you're leading a race, Matt. I mean, even if you're leading comfortably, you know, all sorts of things start to go in your head. You come in for pit stop, don't mess it up. You know, don't give it all away in the pit stop. So you go a little bit steady to make sure you hit your marks. Ooh, as O'Reilly gets very sideways.
That Honda's got to get up to temperature.
Yeah, on a reasonably simple corner, to be fair. Now it's O'Reilly having to get those tyres back to temperature.
Well, O'Reilly's got to do that, but also, Kelly, Ben's got back ahead of Sylph. So Ben is back in front of Sylph then. We're currently watching this fight at the moment as it plays out. And
what happened there?
Not sure what happened there, because I flicked away, come back, and it was already job done.
Yes, indeed, and 4.2 now. Dan's got the gap down to O'Reilly. O'Reilly's struggling just to get his tyres up to temperature. Friedman reeling Dan in as well, 10th by 10th. He's got the gap down to 1.2 now as they start into another lap. So these times are ebbing and flowing, Matt.
Yeah, and I feel what we're seeing here, Sylph very close to the back of Ben Rook there as we ride on board with him. What I think we're seeing here, Kelly, is the fact that Friedman pitted a lap earlier than Dan. With it being so cold, Friedman had that lap extra than Dan to get them tyres starting to get into a better window. So while Dan's are still coming into that window, Friedman's are a lap older. So Friedman's are a lap warmer, a lap higher on the pressures, while Dan's are a lap better than O'Reilly's. So I think it's going to play like this, Kelly, just for a couple of minutes, couple of laps, until they all then start to hit where their peak performance are as the top three come in. As I say top three, Hupert stays out, but Ledger, Wright and Tardock are in. And this fight between Silf and Ben resumes on here.
Yes, indeed. And again, Friedman just bringing the gap down bit by bit. Of course, Tardock really not in this one. He's so far down now. He's just... it's going to be very difficult to recover from that, but he's in the pits now as the leaders go through. And who else you got in the pit? Who's left to pit? Hooper hasn't pitted yet. He's running that close to the margins, isn't he? With 1 minute 14 to go, but he's a good halfway round the lap, I believe. Yes, he's over halfway round the lap and has to pit this lap, or he will be out the window and get a, what will he get? A drive-through or a stop-go or something like that. But he's coming over to the right hand side. He's tucking into the pit lane, keeping inside that white line. It's painfully slow as you go round that penultimate corner and into the pit lane. Be careful not to run onto the grass as Hooper gets a little bit sideways, gets over the line with 40 seconds to go. He's the last man to pit other than Mike Matthews, who's he's in the pits right now.
Yeah, Mike Matthews is in the pits right now, and Ben Ruck has managed to pull away from Silf. While you was having a good little chat there, Kelly, I managed to sprint to the toilet, have a wee and come back.
That was good. That was quick time. That's a quick pit stop.
As Hooperts came in, it's not just the drivers making pit stops, it's the commentators as well. Will Friedman just dropped a wheel into the gravel there. And again, look, we're still saying this. Look, Dan's catching O'Reilly and Friedman's catching Dan. This is still them tyres doing what they need to do.
Yes, indeed. And, yeah, absolutely the case. Friedman down to 7/10 to the back of Dan. Dan dragged the pair of them have got down under 4 seconds now to O'Reilly. And, I mean, 4 seconds is still a deficit to drag back up. We were over halfway through this race, 25 minutes to go. And still plenty of action here at the Red Bull Ring. And still a long way to go.
Kelly. Just looking at the leaderboard, Jamal Clouden's had that bad a race at the moment. He's fell behind Tardock after the pit stops.
He's having it. I say you can't blame me this time. It just ain't happening.
It isn't happening.
No. And poor old Clouden, he's got, there's a few of them, isn't there, that this season O'Reilly's had his fair share of bad luck, as is Dan Friedman, Clouden, Mike Matthews, all got pace. But
do you know the strange thing as well?
Good evening together.
Just to sort of carry on from what you're saying there, Ben hasn't, and then last week and this week hasn't gone Ben's way, as if he's now starting to have that rub of the green.
Yes, indeed, and we've still got some interesting tracks to come. We've got Watkins Glen. What's next week? Next week, back on British soil. It's Alton Park. Alton Park, the footpath itself, barely wide enough to get a car around, let alone 15 of the best of them. Best corner name in motorsport history. Knickerbrook. Yeah. We'll have that story next week, like we do every time we go to. Indeed, we will. Alton Park. We're going there for real this year. Yes. Certainly me and Dan. I believe yourself. We are. Yeah, going there for the British Touring Car Championships. First time I've ever been to Alton Park. I say I'm not a fan of the track. GT4s, I believe, are more suited on this game to Alton Park. Smaller cars. Alton Park is a very, very tight circuit. I say tight as in thin. It's not very wide at all. Very easy to put wheels on the grass and to go off. And I always disliked Alton Park in the GT3s. When I raced it in a GT4, thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you get an opportunity Tuesday nights, Dan is your man on Tuesday nights, taking you through the action all by himself, which he does every week very, very well, and he will take you through the action of the mixed class of drivers in GT4. There's everybody in that, from the bottom end of Pro-Am to the top end of Pro. They're all in one category. Makes for fantastic racing, and it's all at Alton Park on Tuesday night. It's nice that you recommend me as the bottom end of Pro-Am. I do appreciate that. Well, thank you very much. You've been the top end. I know my driving's not what it once was, Kelly, but that takes the absolute risk. Hey, we all have rises, we all have falls. Yeah, we have. We all have rises, we all have falls. But no, Alton Park, Dan Davis next week on Tuesday night, Wednesday night.
Lexi and I believe PM Motorsport possibly back in the box for that, and then Sweet and Sticky will be in the box for Thursday night as well.
Matt, I was going to say that form is temporary, class is forever.
Exactly. And that's why we are class.
Exactly.
Right. And don't anybody in the chat forget that. You'll never get a better duo in the box than this two.
Absolutely. Forget your Brundles and Crofts and your Lennon and McCartneys. Don't worry about it. The best duo's right here. Although
looking forward to Alton Park, I've never been as well, and I know we're trying to do some more tracks, so that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Managed to add Thruxton and Knockhill to that list last year, and obviously camped with yourself at Thruxton. It was a very nice weekend, lovely weather, lovely company. Just a cracking weekend. So fast racing, looking for another cracking weekend again at Alton Park. As we're seeing Sylph on the back of Ben, we've got Ledger on the back of Williams, and we've got Freeman on the back of Dan Davis with 21 minutes to go in this race. What a day it has been. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified when we go live, as well as check out our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester, who are producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing and much more, including SimPlay merchandise. Head over to their Facebook page, link is in the description, and check out Audio Sport, manufacturers of VW Transporter T4 audio solutions and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Their link for that and their Facebook page is in the description, and also head over to their YouTube channel, Audio Sport on YouTube. As Kelly says, you don't need to watch a video, just hit subscribe.
Just subscribe. I don't care if you watch the videos or not. Just subscribe to the channel. I must get you to rewrite that description of Audio Sport, because it has changed slightly.
We need to rewrite it, because let me read you the opening part. Oh no, it's been changed. Whoever's done it has changed it, because it did say last week, somebody told me that it says Sim Racing League holding seasons on Project Cars 2. It also says and F1 22, but F1 at 22 is old, so we can delete that one as well.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, a bit of updating to do, busy lives and all that. But do head over to any of those. Design Manchester do some absolutely fantastic stuff. Our very own Mike Matthews, if you're unaware. And Dan goes deep. Friedman's going to run. Matt, he's got to run on the outside.
I think Dan's going to be fine here. I think Dan's going to be fine. Oh, Dan let him go. Dan's let him go.
He seems to have, hasn't he?
Dan did not fight that one too hard.
Why was that?
That is very uncharacteristic of Dan. Not 100% sure. I'm just going to check something. I'm not going to read it out on screen.
Dan's flashing his lights at Friedman.
Dan's fine for fuel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure what the situation is there, but Dan definitely let him go there. Dan will fight that one to the death, and he didn't. Sylph has got past Ben Ruck on the timing screen now. Ledger still within a second of Williams. Cloudon's lost 5 seconds to Tarlock. Cloudon just looks like he's out there for a Thursday evening drive in that McLaren, it has to be said. And so does O'Reilly. Let's not mistake, O'Reilly has probably been the best of the rest this season. Dan's had moments, Ben's had moments, Taker's had moments. O'Reilly's been the consistent, I think. That's why he's sitting P3 at the moment. I think he's been a bit better than Hoopert. Not as good as Tarlock and Sylph. Obviously, Championship's going to reflect that. But it's going to be another, I think, a first race win for O'Reilly this season. Let me just double check. Kieran O'Reilly. Yeah, this will be a first race win of the season for Kieran O'Reilly in great fashion, I think, because he's put it on pole, led from the start. Great race.
Yeah, lights to flag so far. Still 18 minutes to go. Oh, as Ben just taps the back of Stilth. Seems to be no harm done to Stilth. He stays in front. He may have picked up some damage, of course, but Ben just running to back. It seems to be under the brakes that Ben is struggling tonight. It seems to be he's either braking too late and losing the back end, or just, it doesn't seem to be able to get it slowed down and slowed down in a straight line.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling in that Aston Martin, and like we said a moment ago, each driver have had their own sort of bad couple of weeks. This seems to be Ben's stage of that process, who has had a bad couple of weeks. Obviously, from last week to this week, he seems to be the one that has struggled a little bit more than the rest. So this is going to be an interesting one to see what will happen here in the rest of this race. He's got to try and carry it on, and I believe he will do as best he can, but with drivers not being on the grid this season, Kelly, what is a bad race for Ben now compared to what was a bad race for Dan at the beginning of the season, or O'Reilly at the beginning of the season, is a lot better for Ben because there's less drivers, some more points for him.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, whatever happens tonight, you're guaranteed of at least 13th place. You know, so yeah, it's disappointing to be fair, and we say about you know, sticking with it. Unfortunately, the closer we get to the
having a look
shot,
on Williams, makes it stick at turn 2. That is a heck of a sending manoeuvre from Patrick Ledger. Has he got it done though? The Mustang's going to use its grunt out of 2 down to 3. Williams is on the outside and pulls back in front of that Lamborghini. The grunt of that Ford Mustang. Well, speaking about Ford, as Ledger comes again at turn 3. Full send from the Dutchman. Bit of contact on the exit of the corner, and full send from the Lamborghini. 2 corners in a row. Williams does not give this one up into turn 4. Mustang holds the inside line. You just seem to understeer wide if you're offline through turn 4. Ledger's still there though. This is a great bit of racing. 3 corners, now 4 corners, and Ledger just couldn't hold it there into the next part of the S's.
Yes, indeed. I tell you what, Patrick Ledger is shaping up to be my driver of the day today.
Oh yeah.
He's been driving so well and been so feisty tonight, and didn't quite make it stick that time, but doing some great driving tonight is Patrick Ledger, so he's certainly on my radar for driver of the day tonight. Will Friedman has pulled a couple of seconds away from Dan now, you know. He's pulling away into the distance, and he's catching only just Kieran O'Reilly.
Yes, has he got time? We'll wait and see what will happen in this race. And I think it's a very tough driver of the day tonight, because the 4 names I'm putting down is Patrick Ledger, race 1 win, currently 7th at the moment, but he's driving really well. He's made some good moves in this second race. Hoopert's had a pair of 4th places, Dan would have had a pair of 3rds, and O'Reilly a 1st and 2nd. So the pole's gone out. I think it's a tough driver of the day decision today. And can we just point out as well, Honda is the leading Japanese car on the grid.
Hey, you know what I've said in the past, don't you?
Sun shines
on the dog's arse.
Yeah.
Dogs are some days, and today it's the Honda's day. The rising sun is coming up, and it's right on the back of that Chihuahua's backside, as Kieran O'Reilly is been controlling this race and doing a cracking job in that Honda. You know, considering he's handicapped, he's you know, as in the Honda, he's not actually handicapped. You know, no, not that I know of. Oh, it's feeling like a hole that I'm digging. Look, this race is because Patrick Ledger and Williams have been scrapping. It's brought Silth and Ben Rook back into play, and we've got another four-way scrap lining up for 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th at the moment, as they all get very close to each other as we're into the closing stages in the last quarter of this lap, as he desperately tries to dig himself out of that hole that he got in.
Desperately did there. Also, Silth gaining on Ledger, like you've just said, and Ben's coming with him. Matt Wright's 3.7 behind, then Torlock's a second half behind him. Jamal nowhere near Tardock. He's so far back, is Jamal. I don't know what has gone wrong. We'll hopefully get to chat with him a little later on.
He's still at Nürburgring, I think.
Either that or he's heading, you know, to the channel to get across to Alton Park and get ready for that one. But yeah, what an interesting fight this has been. Like I say, Friedman's drove away. I don't think has Dan changed tyres? Did Dan risk it?
I don't know. We'll have to chat with him about that. He's looking good for a double podium this evening, so I'm sure he'll be
very good.
reasonably satisfied with that. Although saying that, don't count Hooper out for catching back up to Dan, especially if he makes a mistake. And we've seen Friedman make mistakes this evening as well. We've got to be said, O'Reilly driving absolutely beautifully this evening, you know. And
I think I'm going to say this now. I think it's the best we've seen in terms of the whole night. It's the best we've seen the Honda and the Porsche look.
Yes,
in terms of the whole night, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. All Honda jokes aside, and Beetle jokes aside as well, to be fair. Still has a look at Ledger.
Herbie's gone strong. Herbie has gone strong.
Ledger defends deep on the inside of the penultimate corner. That's an interesting bit of... it's not the way I would have defended that corner, but he keeps in front of Stealth.
And this is why I think this is why I put Ledger on this list, Kelly. He's attacked well, he's defended well, he's won the first race. I think he's well worth a shout tonight as Sylph. Do you know what? It's been kind of nice to not see the Fords be as dominant.
Oh, absolutely. And it's nice to have some others in the mix.
And that's no disrespect to Hooper, to Sylph, to Tardock, you know, to the Ford drivers at all, because they've been brilliant all season. But it's kind of like when Red Bull make a mistake, or Red Bull just don't have the pace, and, you know, Mercedes, Ferrari or McLaren win a race in recent years. It's like, that made F1 a bit better.
Refreshing.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's nice that Verstappen wasn't the quickest overall. It's kind of like that tonight, is that the Fords aren't the quickest. And the fact that we have got, you know, Honda, Porsche, race 1 was Lamborghini, Honda, Porsche, you know, it's just brilliant, you know, fantastic.
So just quickly, one question as you brought up Red Bull, who's going to be in front after the weekend at Suzuka? Lawson or what's he called?
Sonoda?
Oh, Sonoda, thank you.
I think Lawson.
Is it going to be Yuki or Liam? Who's going to be in front?
I think I
We've
like
got to
Yuki.
be putting it down to this car, haven't we?
I really like Yuki, and I really like him. I think he's a great driver, not just because of his Honda stuff. I think he's a fantastic driver. That second car, Ledger runs a little wide. Silt's going to have a look into the final corner. Holds it tight, though. Ledger manages to hang on there. He's doing well. Could do with Ben just putting pressure on. For me, let's just drop back to Matt Wright. In fact, no, we'll stay with this, actually, because this is a good fight. No, you know what? We've not seen much of Matt Wright. Let's go to him and Torlock. I like Yuki, I really do. But that second car is cursed. It's bad. It's built for Max. If you're not Max, you can't drive it. That's no disrespect to Max Verstappen. That's no disrespect to any driver. No. That is poor management from Red Bull.
Yes,
all your eggs in one basket, and that one basket isn't what's going to get you prize money and wind tunnel time for next season. And Red Bull need wind tunnel time. They've lost their greatest asset.
They certainly have, and Silth having another run on Ledger, but he couldn't quite make it stick. They're in close company again as they come down into turn 3. Silth with the inside line, but Ledger just a smidgen on the brakes. He goes all the way around the outside, gets the traction again and managed. Brilliant driving. Silth just sitting there trying to do something against Ledger, but Ledger's just always there. And,
Silth
always in the right place at the right time.
Touring car defending at the moment, parking it where he needs to park it. Later on the brakes, toward it round the outside. This is a brilliant drive. Silth on the grass a little bit. This could allow Ben to have a run, and by God does it, because Ben ahead of Silth now coming into the penultimate corner. Ben.
That was a Duffin.
That was a Duffin chop, and I know, and Kelly knows what a Duffin chop is. And Ben Ruck there was full hi-ya, and off comes the nose.
Oh, I don't know how many chopping days it is to Christmas, but he certainly had a good old chop there as Ben Rook defends himself and gets back, takes advantage of Sil's mistake. And Sills makes another one into turn 1, gets him very deep into turn 1 and loses ground to these. Let's see how Ben gets on against Patrick Ledger. Patrick Ledger seems to be the new KLF on the block of defending. He always in the right place at the right time, always in the way, as I've been told.
266 days to a Christmas, to answer your question.
Yeah. Is that shopping days or just days?
Just days, and I googled it. Don't worry, I'm not sad enough to know that off by heart. I did Google it.
I thought you would be.
Ledger's now gained on the back of William. He's going to go right around the outside. I don't know if he went deep or if he just thought, you know what, the outside's there. I fancy a bit of that on Williams.
He seems to like the outside,
He does. He really closed up on Williams. That's now not happened out of this corner. But yeah, I like the Yuki, but I think that car's built for Max. And I think Red Bull screwed over Gasly, Albon, Perez, and now Lawson. Why is Sonoda going to be any different?
Absolutely, I totally agree, and it reads that Red Bull have painted themselves into a corner, and the more that Max has got good, the worse they've improved the car for him, and now they're in a real problem that they haven't got anybody who can drive like Max.
You want a great example of a team that's got two working cars, McLaren.
Absolutely, and and they're the force to be reckoned with. So. For Lawson's career, and and I agree with you. I like Yuki. I think he's.
Drive through, Patrick! Oh no, Patrick Ledger! No. Drive through penalty for track limits. Your heart bleeds as Ben gets past him, and your heart bleeds for the Dutchman who's drove so well all night long. But a drive-through penalty for track limits—that is just going to eat away at you.
Oh yeah, I'm speechless about that one. That's gutting. Yeah, absolutely. You're doing so well, racing so well. Hey, we've been there. We've all been there. And it when you're on that third warning and you think one more and I'm in trouble. But being in a pack like this is so difficult not to, especially when the runoffs are so inviting here.
Yeah, and this is the problem. This is what I find with the Red Bull ring nowadays, with them run-offs at turn 1 and the penultimate and final corner. Bring back a good bit of gravel. Look, Matt Wright's just gone in the gravel. Watch how much it's going to hurt Matt Wright, because Tordek gets a great run through the S's. He's now alongside Matt Wright. Ledge is going to come into the pits.
Ben's sideways, properly sideways. That was Tokyo Drift moment. I'll tell you, he was drifting that right round the penultimate corner, but still right on the back of him in the traction zone. Fair play to Ben. He held on to that, an absolute treat. If we were giving points for style, he'd be winning tonight.
Well, Surf's going to look up the inside. Tordek did get past Matt Wright. Still looking up the inside. Ben tries to hold it strong around the outside and does hold it strong around the outside. Patrick Ledger-esque. And Ben Ruck comes off on top there. Hart goes out for Patrick Ledger. He's going to lose out to Jamal Clouden as well. He's not going to lose out to Mike Matthews, so that'll be a consolation, I suppose, there. But Patrick Ledger, you have to feel sorry for him. But Tordek got past Ilf, and that's what I was just saying about gravel traps. Bring them back. Matt Wright drops 2 wheels on the gravel trap. That gives Tordek the momentum to get through. Tordek's now fighting Sylph. This is a battle for the championship, let's not forget. These two, the 2 championship protagonists heading into the last 3 weeks of the season, and Sylph and Tordek still having a good scrap side by side through turn 3. Matt Wright with a watching brief behind at the moment, and Sylph and Tordek going to put on a great display, I reckon.
Again, a couple of more people adding to this battle. And got to be said that Tardok's done a great job, considering he started this race with a drive-through penalty, and he's now up to 9th with 6th place in his view.
Yeah.
What a drive.
Yeah, what a drive. Fantastic bit of racing from Tordek, who looks now to the outside of Sylph. And don't forget, these two are the MSA team in the league. Oh, a little squirrely from Tordek there, still side by side. They now touch each other. Teammates don't want to bump each other next week, otherwise we will not hear the end of the Matt Neal and Gordon Shedden Honda references for the whole entire week. So Gary...
We won't anyway.
Well, no, we probably won't. Dan will mention it, you will mention it. And as Matt right now off the track trying to get past Tordek, but Tordek still hunting down his teammate. And if he finishes in front of his teammate, that'll be more points taken away from Sylph in this championship.
Absolutely, and as you say, these two in a championship battle. Ben again has got close now to Williams as he gets dangerous.
Tordek up the inside, Kelly. He's up the inside. Matt Wright's fancying a following manoeuvre through. Now he bangs doors with Sylph. Matt Wright in the slipstream of Tordek. Can that Nissan just pull ahead of Sylph? I believe it's going to here. This is great racing down the field, and it's like a bit like an endurance race. We had that middle lull in the middle of the race. It's all coming together at the end. Matt Wright and Sylph touch once more, and Matt Wright manages to get through on Sylph.
Sylph having an absolute shocker. Lost 2 places in the space of 3 or 4 corners, but he's having to go back at Matt Wright. Down the inside, Matt Wright hanging it round the outside. Tricky to defend out there. Sylph now got the inside line for the next corner, but his teammate is a dot in the distance as Tordek goes on. He's in 8th position. Remember, he had a drive-through at the beginning of this, and he was last on the grid with a qualifying ban. And as you say, Matt, because the numbers are down, he's now 8th, scoring good points.
Scoring great points and great comeback drive from him. He's got the fastest lap. He's had the pace. Benny's giving it the old flash of the lights. Wonder where he's picked up flashing the lights from as well. So the Duffin chop, flash of the lights,
You've been teaching him. You've been coaching this boy.
Yeah, that's why I'm so poor now. That's why I'm so slow now. I've given all my speed and wisdom to Ben Ruck. Yeah.
All your little tricks you've given away, so everyone knows them now.
If you're defending from a car, just nose gone.
Yeah.
Flash like mad.
I call it the Duffin stroke Plato book of racing.
Yeah.
Hang them up on the apex, hold them up on the apex. Yeah, all that. Yeah. You certainly don't see me doing that.
No, never, ever. Run them out to just within a car's width on the exit of the corner. Never see you doing that.
No.
Hey, attacking's one form of racing. Defending's another form, and you can be as aggressive attacking as you can be defending. Let's not get us wrong there. We both have been in a situation where we've defended hard as well as attacked hard, and that's sometimes how you have to go racing. Dan, still within 2.1 of Friedman, but who put within 1.9? Friedman, 4 seconds to O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly's got this in the bag. Boring a mistake. 2 minutes 35 left. Ben looking to have a run on that of Williams down towards the penultimate corner. Tordek's not a million miles away in the background as Ben there just breaks a little earlier and tucks back in. Wasn't alongside Williams to make the move.
Yeah, good. Oh, and he gets very out of shape. Got very close in the last corner. Got out of shape. Manages to scoop it all up. As a flash of the lights at Williams, don't think Ben's in the best of moods this evening.
Where's Chris to tell us?
Yeah, where is Chris tonight to tell us all about? Maybe he's not going in Ben's room, and I don't think he's allowed in there anyway, is he?
No.
He's not allowed to go in Ben's room and disturb him while he's racing. But as I said, I don't think Ben's in the best of moods tonight because he's doing a lot of that light flashing and a lot of chopping. I think he's driving a little bit angry this evening. Certainly been fighting that car all night.
Yeah, he has.
And he's not done with Williams with a minute and a bit to go. We'll be on to the final lap soon enough. And it's all kind of stale with the top three at the moment. They're all pretty much sorted. The positions are still down because Tardok is now within a second of these two battling.
Yeah.
He's brought the gap down absolute loads and dropped Silth way back. So yeah, and Tardok, don't write Tardok off for another position or maybe even two yet.
No, Tardok is looking at a P5. He's got the rest of this lap and one more to go. Dan's 1.8 ahead of Hooper. So, Ben! Late pull out there. I think he just got a better run through the S's over that of Williams. And instead of hitting Williams, you had to avoid him. That's then going to open the door for Tardok. Tardok's going to go up the inside. Penultimate corner. Tardok through. Ben's going to try and hang it around the outside. Final corner. They come again. Ben around the outside. Tardok on the inside. Still side by side together. And they're still coming down the short straight. I assume that the Ford's going to have enough in a straight line. Ben is fighting this so hard. He's gone 12 rounds with these Ford Mustangs. Has he got the last bit of momentum left in him? No, he hasn't. Yes, he has. On the inside, he touches Tardok. They spin. They're off. And Tardok's race that could have been sixth is going to not be. It's going to be down the order. And Ben Rook, well, that's going to be an interesting one to see, I think.
Yeah, I think that was unfortunate. I think they both had room, but just run out. I think they both had room for that one, and it's just unfortunate. Ben, I thought initially that when you said Ben avoided, I thought he lost the back end and got the. I was on board with him,
right.
And it looked to me like the back end started to step out. I could be wrong. It looked like the back end started to step out, and he avoided that. That, of course, gave Tardok that run, and
either way,
unfortunately, he ended up with them in the wall.
Kieran O'Reilly comes towards the line, and it's going to be a race win for the Honda. His first of the season, second place for Will Freeman. Dan will take that P3, back-to-back P3s. Hooper will be P4, and we just await for Calseth to come to the line now. P5 for him, not a bad result for him tonight. Hooper P4, set of fourth places there, good result for him. This will then give Williams that P6, and that'll be a good spot for him. Good debut for Williams, really, 8th and 6th.
Absolutely.
Not bad from him there. Silth is going to take points back off of his championship rival as Tardok ended up in the wall with Ben. Silth will get 7th. Matt Wright will come home for P8. Jamal Clouden out of nowhere is going to get a P9 in this race, and you've got to be in it to win it, and you've got to stay there till the very end. But what a drive from him. Tardok will be P10 with fastest lap. Ben down in P11. I wonder if Ben gave that place back to Tardok, because Ben was in front of him as they both resumed.
Yeah, Ben waited for him. I saw him Tardok go through quite easily. I think Ben waited for him, which it's kind of immaterial now. But it's a shame that battle came to such an end. Some great racing this evening. I thoroughly enjoyed tonight.
Yeah, I think tonight's been thoroughly enjoyable. I think it's been absolutely brilliant as we just await for Mike Matthews to come around now. That was also Sil's drop score tonight, so that'll give him a couple extra points. Only the 4 extra, but still a couple nonetheless. But that then is your night's worth of racing. What we're going to do now is we're just going to go into the Discord chat to start the interviews. And we are in the commentary position in the Discord chat here to start the interviews, myself and Kelly. But I've worked out the drop scores while everybody was crossing the line at the end. And now let's just calculate and reorder the championship standings. But Kelly, what a night tonight has been. 2 fantastic races. Race 2 felt very much like an endurance race where you kind of get that mid-session lull. And then it all came together at the end. And boy, did it come together at the end. That was chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, what a great night's racing. Red Bull Ring, as I said, it makes for overtaking. And for good racing. When they got overtaken, there's good racing, and it's seen the likes of Tardok right at the back coming back through the field. It's seen some great racing up and down the field, and so many good drives tonight.
So many.
But we have got someone in with us.
We have got somebody in with us. We'll get to him in just a moment. Let's just go through the championship standings. It is Sylph, who is 39 points clear of Tardox. That gap pretty much remains the same as what it was before the night. O'Reilly is P3, 126 behind, 339 left up for grabs. It's doable. It's not probably going to happen for O'Reilly. Needs more drivers to be here. Needs Tardock to have a bad couple of runs, and Sylph. Hoopert is P4 with Dan Davis now up into P5. Takes back the number 1 status in the Audio Sport team as Ben Rook drops down to 6th. Overtaker is 7th with Will Friedman 8th. Matt Wright 9th. Jamal Clouden in 10th. From Mike Matthews, Patrick Ledger, Michael Harris, Skunky, Viper, Hoffer, Carlos, Leach, McGowan, Calseth, Fraser O'Brien, Williams, Bates, Richie, Collin and Pocket. In terms of the Constructors' Championship, just say as well, from Mike Matthews down to only the top 10 mathematically can win that championship now. In terms of that Constructors' Championship, it is MSA 331 points clear of Audio Sports. They've gained a few back tonight of Audio Sport. SimPlay Racing P3 ahead of the Greasy Bandits Racing. Old School Racers can no longer win the championship, so from them down, then it's Quantum Motorsport, Team FBR, Team SPR, Effect Motorsport and Red Rum Racing. And we are joined by 2 drivers in the chat, and I think we'll start off with the P3 man. Let's start off with Dan Davis. Ledger's also with us. Ledger took the race win, so we'll start off with Dan. In what has been such a tricky season in that Porsche, it's fair to say, I think you'll agree with that one, but tonight looked a great night, looked a comfortable night, looked like the best night the Porsche's had.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a bit of a shock, to be honest. I was not really expecting this. We actually came into the night thinking that Ben was going to be the one to score big points. He looked quick, he looked consistent. And for some reason, his car just wouldn't gel for some reason. It wouldn't work. And I said to him, mate, that's been the season. That's been my whole season. Been brilliant in practice, and then come race day, the car just ends up going wrong. But tonight, weirdly, it went the opposite way around. The car came into it not thinking it was going to be great. I'm literally sick to death of this Beetle. It's doing my head in. But for tonight, it worked. I didn't take too many risks. I could see everyone else taking curbs and stuff, but my car wouldn't have it. So I just thought, just keep it safe, keep it close, and just score the points.
Score the points. One move I want to talk about is that one with Will Friedman. Just talk about what happened next. It didn't look like you fought him too hard in that second race.
Well, I did it initially because at points me and him were slowly creeping onto the back of O'Reilly, but it was getting to a point where I could see he was much quicker than me, and O'Reilly was just starting to eke out again. So I thought, next mistake, or if he gets a good run, it's easier for me to let him go and see if I could go with him to bring the gap down to O'Reilly. So I gave him a little flash to say, look, come on, lad, let's go, let's get after him. But I just couldn't stick with him. I think he had more confidence on the curbs and everything, and I just thought the Porsches are struggling this season to get a win, so I thought, why not work together to try and hunt him down? And it didn't work, but I get 2 podiums at the end of the day, and it's been finally a decent race.
Yeah, and I think that's the week you've needed, isn't it, really, to there's a battle for third in this championship. O'Reilly's put a real stamp and a real dent in, cementing third place. But that's what you needed, wasn't it? Because you'd started to fall behind Ben and Overtaker in recent weeks, as well as O'Reilly and Hooper. That's what you needed, really, this season. It was a solid night. We've seen you have good results, one race, not the other, but a solid night is what you've missed this season.
Yeah, it's just the car hasn't been in my favour. I've been struggling with it all season. I thought I would gel with it, probably one of my all-time favourite cars, and it's just not working for me. So it's a learning lesson, it's a learning curve, and, finally a decent night. I am hoping that there's going to be 2 rounds where hopefully this should be a much, much stronger car, but we'll see what happens. But nonetheless, I really don't think P3 is really on the cards. I've been trying to stay with the boys all season, but no, it's finally nice to walk away and actually have a decent result for once.
Dan, race 1, if you go back and just towards the end, you and Tardok were fighting into turn 2. Tardok put a late lunge from one side of the track to the other, went from the outside to the inside, come down the inside, and you telegraphed that beautifully as Tardok run wide and you switched back on him. Did he surprise you there, or did you see him come down the inside and thought, I'm going to let you shoot past the apex and cut on the inside?
Well, first things first, I want to praise the MSA boys. I think they're very, very fast drivers. I think they're incredibly quick.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do think they need to be a bit more aware of the strength of that Mustang, because they are incredibly fast in a straight line to the point that it's scarily quick, especially in a car like the Porsche. I can't really battle with them. So I think they do need to be a bit more aware of how fast their cars are. Like I said, I'm not really trying to sit there and say, terrible driving, but just more like, just be more aware. And I got to a point I could see he was getting frustrated. He was fed up with being stuck behind my Porsche, and I see he was trying the outside, he tried the inside, and I thought, if he's going to set up the inside, I'm always going to have better traction in the Porsche. Always have, always will. So it's a classic move that I tend to do, where I just send it down the inside and hope and pray it stops. He went deep and knew he was going to go deep, and I just tucked it underneath and used the Porsche's one and only strength of traction and just pulled away, and obviously the rest of the boys ended up clogging up with him. But don't get me wrong, it's been great racing with these guys, door banging, and it's been Robin's racing, don't get me wrong, it's been hard fought racing, but that's the nature of Red Bull Ring. But yeah, I just had it outsmarted him there.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a great bit of driving between the pair of you. I was on board with whoever was just behind you, and to watch it play out, it was like chess. It was a move and counter move, great racing to watch. I mean, there was some great racing up and down the field tonight. Have you got any other kind of standout kind of battles tonight? Anything else for you?
Well, obviously, firstly, I want to say congratulations to Ledger. It's nice to see the Lamborghini take a win. I do miss the old girl. But no, not really. Will Friedman had a good little scrap, and then Tordok obviously was giving me pressure earlier on in race 2. But yeah, none of that. I gave O'Reilly a good go in the first couple of laps, just could not get the car to work at the start. I don't know why. I could get a good launch off the start, but then the first couple of laps, it just doesn't want to work, or doesn't want to play ball. But no, all in all, I think it was great racing. Yes, there's a bit of door banging, and yes, there might have been, a bit of handbags thrown, but that's racing. Robin's racing, and yeah, that's that.
Absolutely. Mathew.
We head to Alton Park next week, Dan, back on British soil. We know your form in England, in Great Britain. We know what you can certainly do there. On a track that maybe looked to be decent for the Porsche, what do you think you can do around there?
Well, obviously when I've been doing the track stats and all for the stream, I know for a fact that the Porsche does hold the lap record around Alton Park. So this is definitely a circuit where I think that, especially me and Friedman, definitely can be quite mighty around here. And as you said, I'm not the massive fan of British circuits, but this season I love them more than any time because they seem to be where I've been competitive. So Alton Park, bring it on. I know how to race there, I know how to push there. So we'll see what we can do at Alton Park. And Donington Park, of course.
Dan, congratulations on tonight. 2 P3s, well done.
Cheers, boys, and nice to actually chat to you boys for once.
Indeed, it is.
Really nice for me. Really nice.
We can speak, though, to your race winner in that first race as well. Patrick can join us now in the comms box. Patrick, you took multiple race wins in that sprint series, in the sprint races last season. This is your first of this season. And what a night's worth of racing for yourself, because no matter where we looked, it was always you that was defending or attacking.
The sprint race, it was nice. I knew I had to overtake Gary Leach as soon as possible because I know he will fight for his life for those positions. And if I figured out if I overtake him quickly, he will do that to P2 and everyone behind him. And I think that gave me the win in the sprint race. Also, I think I was a bit lucky that Friedman had an incident. So that also played a part. But after Friedman had this incident, I was sure if I kept my laps together, I was going to win, even with O'Reilly getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. And I guess I'm a sprint merchant.
it seems to be that every win has been in the sprint, but it was a very good race too as well. Let's take the drive-through penalty out of the second race. You was constantly putting pressure on drivers as well as defending really well. It was a pleasure to watch that mid-pack sort of battle tonight.
I definitely enjoyed that, but that drive-through penalty was, I do not think, actually my mistake. I was gaining rear brake troubles. Like somehow my rear brake wasn't cooling down anymore. I was losing braking power, so I think regardless of the drive-through penalty or not, I think I would have finished 12th anyway. And that was unfortunate, to be honest, because my pace was really there. I really felt like I was competitive. And that 70% of the main race that went well, I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed fighting with Rook, with B. Williams, and some of the other drivers. So, I mean, massive props to them to keep it clean. Of course, I'm proud that I kept the clean as well. And yeah, I take that 70% home with me, even though it didn't result in big points.
Patrick, Kelly here. I don't think we've ever spoken before. Congratulations on the win this evening. And for me, you're going to be my driver of the day. I thought your defending and attacking was fantastic in race 2. But you seem to have the Lamborghini underneath you. Apart from the brake problems that you've said you've been having, was the Lamborghini particularly nice this evening? Was it working for you?
It was definitely working. I felt like compared to, let's say, to the Mustangs, I was very quick in the corners. I was able to keep on the pressure on those guys, and yeah, sometimes they made mistakes where I could profit from. And I mean, somehow I wish the Lambo had a little bit more straight line speed, but other than that, I feel like that car is made for me. Not gonna lie.
Well, we know Dan's a big fan of it, so you did the Lamborghini proud this evening. As I said, you were all over the track and seemed to be able to make it work. You know, you seemed to be able to go round the outside of some corners, get good traction. It was certainly a pleasure to watch tonight.
Thank you, mate. I hope I give some good entertainment to all of you guys. I mean,
absolutely.
I love to play. You guys do a great job. I mean, keep it up.
Thank you very much. Patrick, we go to Alton Park next week. What can you do around there?
Alton Park, if I remember correctly, is a very narrow track beside of the mid straight. I mean, it's going to be all about discipline. I mean, one touch on the grass and you're basically dead. I mean, it's going to be a fun race, not going to lie. A lot of mistakes. And if I'm on pace, I hope I will get my first podium on the main race, not going to lie.
You never know what will happen. Patrick, congratulations. You've got the fans' vote of Driver of the Day in the YouTube chat. You've got Kelly's vote for Driver of the Day. I'm torn between O'Reilly, Dan and Patrick. I can't really choose between, so it's a tough one for me. But Patrick, congratulations tonight. Well done overall. Kelly, that is Red Bull Ring in the bag. That is the night races in the bag as we head into the final 3 weeks of the championship. And we head into that final stage of the series, which gets exciting. And this is going to be the chance now for the drivers to head back to British soil and once over to the American tracks to see what they can do.
Yep, absolutely. The last 3 going to be super exciting. I'm looking forward to it because I'm competing in 2 of those races, so I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. Alton Park, the footpath next week, as Patrick just said, one wheel on the grass and you're dead. It's very tight, it's very twisty. You're going to have a good qualifying because track position is going to be absolutely crucial. We look forward to that next week. Check out the GT4s on Tuesday night because I think that's going to be interesting races. Watkins Glen and Donny Park, the home of SimPlay Motorsport at Donny Park. Looking forward to both of those, Matt. We've still got 3 cracking weeks of racing to go. And the Red Bull Ring, it never disappoints, does it? It's not the most complicated track in the world, but it always makes for good racing.
It always does make for good racing. You are currently seeing pictures of testing for Alton Park. Mike Matthews made a hash of turn 1 there, as you said that. But Red Bull Ring, like you say, like Monza, it's not the most overcomplicated circuit. Pretty simple, but always provides the drama and the action. You can join us for Alton Park next week. Dan Davis will be live in the box. GMT +1 for you guys out there for Dan Davis and the GT4s. Lexi will be back, maybe with PM, maybe not this time. We'll see what is happening there. Lexi was away this week with exams. That's why Phil was taking the commentary box last night. That'll be 8 PM GMT +1. And me and Kelly, Sweet and Sticky, will be back in your box on Thursday night, 8 PM GMT +1. Back on British soil in the north of England, just outside of Manchester for this circuit. It's Mike Matthews' home race, technically, if you go geologically on the map. And this is going to be an interesting one to see what we can do. We know how good Dan is on British soil, even though he hates them. We know how good that Porsche and I think the Honda could be a one to watch next week as well.
Highly probable.
It could do all right. I think the Ford's going to struggle here. That's my take on that one. There's no real straights for the Ford.
I don't even know if it'll fit on the track.
It's a very valid point. That you are not. We saw 4 cars 4 wide tonight. 3 of them was Fords. You aren't getting that next week.
You ain't doing that at Autumn Park.
Don't forget, this weekend is the start of the British GT, in which you get to see the Honda around Donington Park. I don't think we mentioned that tonight, so there we go. The Formula One's also on your tellies. But while you're there, in between the Formula One, the British GT, and whatever other racing is on, why don't you head back through SimPlay history, as me and Kelly have said the last couple of weeks. Go and check out some of the old streams,
some of the early stuff,
Formula One, ACC, whatever we've done. We've dabbled on a few bits, even Gran Turismo, with our Nations League stuff. But that's been Red Bull Ring. That's been another week of SimPlay Motorsport action. Dan Davies will be back Tuesday night to kick off Alton Park week, and we can't wait to get it going. We'll see you there. Goodbye.
Good night.